Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon, and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Bose Nail, Justin Duso, Joseph Pizarro, Samson, Maris, Harry Blade, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Lost Cat FE, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Mike, Muted, Dick Earth Skeptic, Chris Hillman, NA Literalist, Maria Neeland, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Rob H, Nathan Thompson, The Real Gabster, Windrider, Liam Nedrick, Erwin Jennisons, Abraham Mohammed, Dave Rekia Gafford, Naibai, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Fireball X, Felix Hung, Texas Mike, Edwin Johnson, Kirsten Smith, Alexander Main, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I'll raise the mic. Oh, there's already quite a few people in the Discord live stream, so you can enjoy their conversation while I set up for today's live show.
Yeah, it's crazy. So they think science is back because, Trump with his thing where they say he's not following science. He's probably the smartest one there that has nothing to do with science. But she did say flat and the earth is flat.
That is fucking weird.
I seen that video. I cringed so hard I got scoliosis.
She has no clue what she's doing anyway. It's a shame. I don't understand why people... I do understand. People are just in a freaking trance.
They're doing that correlation between the coronavirus
anything.
and flat Earth, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah,
I guess flat Earth is a wide awake.
So I'll promote my video. It's called the Coriolis virus, and then it's listing the confirmed cases so far. Have any of you caught my video? Not caught it, as in contagiously caught it.
It's a good name, though.
I heard him talking about it on 24/7
morning.
yesterday. They were saying how good it was.
Well, if you've not seen it already, I put a reasonable amount of editing work into it. I was quite proud of the result. It's done quite well as well. So, yeah, check it out. The Coriolis virus. Get it right. Check it out. I'm also going to plug...
What's that?
Hey, 10th.
Hey, was that the one where Rumpus takes a long pause after he says he knows everything about the pendulums?
No, but yes. That was in it as a clip, but no, that video is called The Best Toe Tag Ever when that particular thing happened, but this was... No, I trimmed that out and put it in as a little excerpt along with Simon Dan saying you and your reference frames are ruined.
Yeah, and it was featuring virus. The one yesterday that I saw.
Yes, featuring virus and called the Coriolis virus. That's the one.
I'm telling you, what a comical year it's been.
I didn't expect it to be a good year for Coriolis effect, though. Did you?
No, I mean, I thought you were gonna, based on the previous year, because how they convolute it. But then, what a surprise! The more they spoke, the better it looked.
Yeah. As I say, I wasn't expecting it to suddenly snap into a position where we've got clarity on Coriolis effect, and our side now seem to get it more and more as days go by. I see people in the comments saying, well, no drift then, when they have somebody pipe up with an argument, Earth and atmosphere move together. And the commenters are representative, as far as I'm concerned, of my audience, and they're like, no drift then. Oh, no 15 degrees then. So they get it. And if as soon as people start getting that, they won't endlessly argue for hours about what is actually their claim. And up until this point, it's been the case that when we describe their claim, well, no, you're claiming Earth turns underneath. That can be argued against. So they're arguing against us clarifying their position. rather than us debunking it. It's like now, as soon as they get to the... Well, we wouldn't expect the plane to drift because it's moving with the atmosphere. Angular velocity is being retained. You go, all right, no 15 degrees drift then.
It's so funny. It's their own argument they got to backtrack on.
Yeah, they've somehow got it to a position where they can argue with us and we're clarifying their position rather than debunking the actual claim. And they're more than happy to spend all day telling us, haha, your claim of reference frames is destroyed because you're saying Earth should turn underneath. It's like, no, I'm not saying that. You're saying that. And to attack me when I'm giving clarity on your position is unbelievably stupid and also incredibly useful. So no drift, Dan. You and your reference frames have been ruined. We don't need 15 degrees an hour drift. And Earth and atmosphere travelling as one versus Earth not moving, they're the same in terms of what you'd observe. So no draw, who cares? They're not arguing that. They're claiming Earth does turn underneath at 15 degrees an hour, but that's got big problems because it would shorten flight times. Drones would whiz away at 1,000 miles an hour. You go up in a helicopter and land in a different country when you've only been hovering. Same for a hot air balloon. It's claimed by Neil deGrasse Tyson, Earth turns underneath footballs. It's claimed by their side, Earth turns underneath snipers' bullets. Well, if all those things add up to one claim, you're claiming on the globe side Earth turns underneath at 15 degrees an hour to cause the movement of the sun, to cause balls to drift through goals, to cause snipers to have to lead their targets because Earth's going to turn underneath them. Of course, that would mean Earth's turning underneath aeroplanes. For the exact same effect to happen, we've just got to be attached to the same claim to be spinning reference frame, watching stuff seem to drift. Well, planes would seem to drift, and helicopters would seem to drift, and drones would seem to drift. And drift means moving away from you as it hovers. Not because it's flying away, but because it's claimed you're turning underneath. That's supposed to be the thing that proves it. So as soon as we point that all out, that's their claim. We go on to say, well, if we were turning underneath, it would shorten flight times going west. Charlotte, North Carolina to LA would be an hour and a half instead of 4.5 hours. Because Earth would be turning underneath to cause this apparent deflection we should be seeing from the ground as we turn underneath stuff, but it doesn't happen. So they've then got to move into, we don't claim that. Now again, they don't say it. They make out like it's us claiming we should turn underneath when it's their claim. And much better to get the flat earther to clarify their claim in the argument and then effectively debunk it, but still beg the question of an Earth that's spinning with atmosphere spinning with it, because then everyone's talking about Earth turning and no one's debunking it. Well, sod that. No drift then. We've got it very clear thanks to Netflix. You think there's drift. That's stuff moving apart, drifting. 15 degrees now is the measurement. Why is it occurring according to you? Well, because Earth's turning underneath. The drift is supposed to be the thing proving Earth's turning underneath. So we're all clear then. Earth's supposed to be turning underneath at 15 degrees an hour to cause deflection. Excellent. Well, we don't see that. Game over. Claim of Earth spin.
It's so funny because the whole point of the pendulum is the Earth is turning underneath.
And as soon as you get to that, because it's been clarified in such detail in their citations, you can say, so here it says it in black and white, Earth turning underneath. Well, if it's turning underneath a pendulum and a bullet and a ball, it's turning underneath an aeroplane, a hot air balloon, a helicopter, a drone. And you'd notice, because your drone would fly away 1,000 miles an hour on the equator.
Yeah, they do this several times on several different topics, as we know. They do it with the horizon. They have so many horizons when there's really only one horizon. And when you watch the videos on how the sextant is used with the only horizon, there's only one thing you got to do is adjust for altitude, which is your eye level when you took the reading. So if you're 9 feet above the horizon, the only one, you're minus 9 feet in the back of the book where all the calculations are. Now they've got the sensible horizon, they've got the rational horizon, the true horizon, the visual horizon. Some of these overlap, by the way. They got astronomical horizon. It's all there to conflate and confuse when the only thing you do is deduct where you took the reading from your eye looking at one horizon. It's amazing how convoluted that is.
Yeah, they've taken the same process, attributed it to Al-Biruni, and called it a dip angle measurement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, ball game over for ballers. I mean, they got to keep changing their position just to have some air to breathe. But then they contradict themselves when they do it each time.
Sound like Admiral Palpatine when they're doing so.
You and your reference frames are ruined.
Lord Vader. Yeah, it's been a fun year, though. I mean, lots of mistakes on their part, a lot of embarrassing moments. Funny how we haven't changed one thing.
Can I run through who I'm going to plug on the show, just so you're not surprised?
Sure.
So first off, we're gonna plug Dirth, DITRH. Got his perspective video queued up. So be prepared to say some nice words about David Weiss. Next, we've got.
I love David Weiss.
I love David Weiss too. Isn't that fortunate? I'm sure we'll have lots of nice things to say about him. Next, we've got.
I've been listening to him for years.
Same here.
Like back when he's still doing the show, the Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole.
Yeah,
Next.
The thing that sticks out about David Weiss to me is his passion, his interest, his doggedness, and wanting to be true in all things he does. I mean, he's a fantastic guy.
It's true, man. He
space that is a vacuum.
Not like him breathing.
But we are breathing gas pressure. So we can't be breathing gas pressure here and have a vacuum above us.
Sorry. Just wanted to queue up and play a bit of David Weiss's video while you were talking about him, and I completely ruined it because I had Brian's Logic playing in the background. My bad.
I said, what was that? Who came in? It sounded like Brian.
It was Brian. He's going to be one of the other ones. I kept saying moving on or whatever because I just want to tell you who they are before we get into chatting about them. I'm glad you are, though. I don't want to discourage you from telling.
I'll try, go on.
That's it. That's the first one. That's DITRH. So, as I say, I'll plug him and play a bit of his video. I think it's just music in the background anyway. Next one I'm going to plug is BLMSB69, as is the originator of the Black Swan. Seems only reasonable he should get a plug, right? So BLMSB69 will get a proper plug. Again, with one of his really good observations as the video that I'm going to plug. The impossible geometric globe horizon, 10.10 miles. Get some of these share links. That worked quite nicely last time doing it in the pre-show, so I didn't have to muck around on the live show. So this will be the order too. So in my live stream chat, I've got David Weiss's link first. BLMSB69 link second. Last but by no means least, let's just check if he's here. No, Brian's not here yet. So I'm going to plug Brian's channel as well. I'll put his PhD response, Sabine response.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be the third link down.
Perfect.
And that's
yeah, BLMSB 69. Who could forget the epic 1 foot video?
But yeah, he's the one that captured the Black Swan at the end of the day. So he only needed one, and he was the one to catch it.
Yeah, many more have actually. Many more came afterwards. There were many more before until it was identified.
Doesn't matter. If everyone's walking past them going, "Nice crow," look, this crow proves the Earth's flat. So it takes one dude to go, "That's not a crow. It's a black swan," and the other side say, "We do not see a geometric horizon."
What a confession! We never have seen it.
Never been seen. What are you talking about? Not like we assert that all horizons are white. I mean, all horizons are geometric sphere edges blocking boats and buildings, and we measure it with a calculator or anything. We do not see the geometric horizon. It only exists in the maths.
It is amazing the way you just played it out. That up until that point, geometric. We never see it. We never claim to see it. Geometric.
Yeah. Why haven't you got perspective? It's a geometric calculator. It's working out the geometry, you idiots. Don't you understand geometry? All right. Why is this geometric horizon not where it's supposed to be and beyond the capabilities of a physical sphere? We do not see the geometric horizon. All right. See? That sounds like optics.
It was a great year, man. It's almost over, but I remember January to now. It's been epic.
Hey, this internet is bad today.
Hey, Paul.
Hey, Flatzoid.
Hey, Flatzoid. I saw you dropping in and dropping out. I thought you had issues. Can you hear us, Paul?
Yeah, these so-called satellites aren't working.
What's going on?
Mine seems to be working good. I got a better internet connection recently, so.
Well, you ought to. You sell it to everyone else. Okay, Paul. Good morning.
You on the?
Well, the sad thing is I can't get my own product. That's the sad thing.
You're not on fiber optic now, then?
No, actually, T-Mobile here locally started providing home internet. So you can actually get 5G service with a home internet cell kind of hotspot. It's not something you can take with you. Like you can't take it around and use it. It only works at home, so it only pings off the one tower. So it actually tripled and almost quadrupled my internet speed by doing that.
Excellent.
Everybody's screaming in the background, so I can't talk much. You know how it goes right here.
Although I'm too poor to do it right now, Neil, I actually got the center channel amplifier fixed, finally. It came back a couple of days ago. I'm going to watch Ford versus Ferrari. Just got to order it.
Nice.
Can't wait. I really actually would prefer to watch it once I got the other amp back, because I'm, I'd like to actually hear the subwoofer I bought 6 months ago working, and I've yet to. And I think that's the kind of movie that probably benefit from it. But there we go. I can actually watch the movie, so I probably will. I watched Ready Player One, sort of low-budget Spielberg rip-off of Matrix.
Hey, Ready Player One wasn't bad. Had a good story to it.
You reckon? Okay.
Yeah.
If you say so.
It's an actual movie called Ready Player One?
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't rate it very highly.
First time I'm hearing it.
I didn't think it was very good.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. They work on a lot of conspiracy movies, at least, like Kubrick and all some other stuff too. It's pretty funny. They're pretty good.
Just didn't have any finesse whatsoever. The Big Bang. It was more like who's the guy who does Transformers? Is it Michael Bay? I didn't know who directed it when I was watching it. Just stuck it on. And then at the end, obviously, figured out that it's Spielberg. But I was like, if that was a Michael Bay movie, I wouldn't have been surprised. Just didn't have the finesse of a Kubrick. Yeah, it had featured bits with The Shining and lots of retro throwbacks to 80s games and music and pop culture. But, I don't know, I thought it was pretty weak. It was a lot of predictive programming in it. That's how they want it to be. I must admit, I chuckled in one of the earlier opening scenes when he explains what is essentially their version of the Matrix, but much more akin to what we might have in reality, i.e. haptic feedback suits and fiber optic connections and digital 3D.
Well, it was a lot better than the Space's Dragon.
Better than what?
So.
Well, I was just going to say that really early on, he shows you that there's a casino in space. So he's going to space. As a person, he's going to space in his haptic feedback suit, in his van with battery power. But he's going to space, right? And he's talking all about how you can gamble up there and get married up there. It's a lot like Vegas. You're like, right? Well, that's where space is. It's not real. The sky's not a vacuum, but in your mind, it's real, and they can make it even more real if you can give you a pair of goggles and make you see it for yourself. Well, that's all it's ever going to be.
That's funny. Going up into space to gamble.
Yeah, basically. Just that they just live online rather than they live in this oasis, as the name implies. It's supposed to be better than the real world. Well, they're all in, avatars and running around playing games, basically, but just escaping from their real life in these suits. You think, yeah, that's something I discussed about 5 years ago. That's ideally how they want it to be. Everyone completely online. Oh, isn't it interesting how we're all shopping online for Christmas here in the UK at the moment on lockdown? Just saying.
Interesting.
Very interesting. But anyway, I just saw it as a lot of predictive programming and a weak plot.
I just found it interesting that they all had to fight for this. How can I say matrix in the end? They all had to fight to keep it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They loved their cage, and they're more than happy to fight for their own cage. There's plenty of metaphors that you could take out of it again, but you know, as we've talked about Kubrick, when you compare it to Kubrick, it's much more layered. It's a multifaceted presentation with Kubrick. There's a surface layer, the general plot of the film, which most people will get. And then there's an undertone that's subtly there, but he would expect you to get if you're reasonably competent. And then there's many levels underneath, subtle links in the movie's plot, foreshadowing various other techniques that he's going to use, but you wouldn't notice unless you were paying attention. Now that kind of subtlety, there wasn't any in Ready Player One. What subtlety? What layers? there isn't any. You know, there's a few predictive programming hints at how the world really is, and they're suggesting how the world really is, right? People stuck online, pretending to be something they're not. You know, we talk about that here all the time. The broken
sounds like
people.
Yesterday.
Go on.
No, I said sounds like yesterday.
Well, yeah, I was just going to say that we've got an excuse for the people who behave the way they do when they're wrong, because they're, generally speaking, anonymous, and they can get away with being who they really are when they're online, because they've got a level of anonymity with 1 million miles of fibre between them and an avatar to be who they are. Well, generally people will just behave how they actually are when they're online. You know, I wear it right on my cuffs. I get criticism for the way I am, but I don't care. That's how I am. Now, the people who can't be that way in real life choose to be that way online behind a little mask. It's pretty pathetic, but that's how people are. And that film's personifying that as somehow a wondrous thing that we should fight for. Well, I don't believe it is. You know, I like the real world, and creating a real world that's a complete shithole and saying, well, it would be much better if you were strapped into a haptic feedback suit. No, it wouldn't.
Well, based on the lack of logic these online ballers have, I'm sure in reality that matches the same. They just probably won't risk it in reality because they get killed online for the lack of logic when it comes to an argument back and forth. They just fall apart, and then they basically ad hom or do a red herring or do some fallacy in order to save face, rather die on that thing than the actual argument, as you put it.
I remember, of course, Jesse tries to speak up every time I try to get on. I remember Rumpus saying he doesn't want to give his identity out because he's worried about if his job finds out that he's online.
He's full of crap.
I know. I was sitting there thinking, I said, from day one, I've had my name out there from day one since I've been on here. I think Nathan's
Me
been
too.
Here day one.
I am Neil Cosentino, same as always.
Yep. So I just think it's funny that we're willing to put our faces to it and our names to it, and then they're hiding behind their avatars and their made-up names.
Not me. I'm 10th man. I'm 10th man all day long.
Oh, I know 10th man. I know. Well, you're kind of an exception. You're an exception to the rule.
There's a difference between just wanting your anonymity because you just don't want people to pester you, and utilising the anonymity to be who you really are. I can't remember the name of the guy who was here the other day, and it got to the point where I'm saying, no, you're behaving how you really are right now, and you're describing yourself as some not pleasant person that people in the bar wouldn't like. And you're right. But you're more than capable of being that way when you don't have any limitations. Well, I don't know about you guys, I don't like to or don't want to be any different now than I am ever. That's how I am. And from day one using the internet, I told myself that's how it's going to be. And I remember, do you guys remember Chris Hansen doing To Catch a Predator? And the guys were getting caught by using AOL Instant Messenger, something I was using to pick up girls at the time. And I remember thinking to myself, Sam, the guy who showed it me, was like, well, you can ask them anything you like, you can be really rude. And I was like, no, I don't want to be that way, because I'm not that way. I'd rather just be how I am, talk to them how I talk to them, take it or leave it. And when these guys back then, I can't remember if it's the 90s or early 2000s, I was thinking, they've been told that their instant messaging isn't being stored, and to a certain degree, well, that might be true on the AOL server, but they're still getting caught because they've got messages being sent what they think is anonymously with their ridiculous names, and obviously someone's just screen capping everything and then just presenting it to the police. So it's like, well, this veiled idea of anonymity is often foiled when you're a complete scumbag. Yeah? Now, my general advice to people is just don't be a scumbag, and you won't have anything to worry about. But the people who come here, they are scumbags. That's how they are. But they can get away with it much easier if they've got a feeling that they're anonymous.
Yeah, they just don't want to get glassed at a pub.
Well, that's what he was talking about, right? Saying that I'd get glassed, and I was like, well, I've been in plenty of pubs, people like me, I'm just exactly the same as I am now. Will I end up in debate about flat earth with them? If the bars were open, that might very well likely be the case if I was sat around with a group of people for a prolonged period. Would it end up in me getting glassed? No. Definitely not. Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Brian, 10th Man, Paul Hall, Neil, Flatsoid, Chocolate Sane, Arwin, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome, one and all.
Good morning.
Ni hao.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Very enthusiastic. Good to hear. First thing I'm going to do is plug a few channels. So over last week, over most of the days, I did a plug for maybe 2 or 3 channels a day that I've had influence from in my journey through Flat Earth, or our current panel members, things of that nature. But basically, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was saying to people, the only way I've seen growth is when people shout me out. And obviously, I can't directly affect people shouting me out. That's entirely up to them whether or not they shout me out. But I can directly affect people who are getting shouted out, and I've got a reasonably sized channel to do so. So that is exactly what I'm going to be doing today. So if you're in the live stream chat, the first link in the live stream chat is to DITRH, or Dearth as is incorrectly pronounced. Nevertheless, David Weiss's channel, and he is a mega heavyweight, whatever you want to call him, a big YouTuber in this regard. So he's very influential in terms of his knowing everybody, getting around a lot, putting a lot of videos out, being involved in a lot of discussions. He was there as a shoulder to cry on for Nathan Thompson, who was recently caught in a long con. And I noticed on Nathan Thompson's channel, Jaren and Dearth, they were there. You know, not only trying to help him before it happened, but they're supporting him in the aftermath. So these are good people. DITRH is a good man, and therefore it's worth a shout out. Why the hell not? He shouted me out enough. So the video I've linked is to his video on perspective. He's got some orthographic representations, obviously in the globe head mindset, of how their version of how the sunsets work compares to his actual practical demonstration of how sunsets would work. So, Perspective is the name of the video, DITRH is the name of the YouTuber, Be Here or Be Sphere on the DITRH YouTube channel. Go and subscribe today if you've not done so already. Obviously, it'd be nice to have some nice words from the panel, so over to you. Anyone who wants to say anything nice?
Yeah, I'll start right away. I get all his notifications. Great guy, great work. Real honest, passionate, dedicated to the subject.
Yeah, sorry, I'll go after.
Right, I was just saying that David Weiss is pretty much the one that got me over the threshold of actually doing live streams for the first time. Just as Nathan convinced me to do a daily show, he was the one that actually really pushed me over the threshold of becoming a YouTuber in Flat Earth. So, yeah, David Weiss is ace.
Indeed, David does some good short.
Hold on, I had Brian first. Go ahead, Brian, then whoever it was from Discord after.
Okay, thank you. David Weiss, he does some good short little videos to do with the sun and little small short little demonstrations. One time he had like a piece of paper looked like the moon on his lampshade, and he was explaining to people. It was such a simple way to explain it to people. Why people in different parts of the world see the moon looking different, because they're looking at it from a different angle. Little things like that, so he's very good at stuff like that.
Excellent. Who's the guy in Discord?
Oh, it was me. I was just going to say real quick, he is, I've been listening to him since the beginning of DITRH. I remember the first day that he brought up Flat Earth, and just the reaction he got from all his panel members. It's pretty interesting. But yeah, he's a great dude. Sub today.
Yeah, I'm glad Brian spoke about some of his videos, because it's very easy for me to go on and on about what nice people we've got in our community. So as I say, in terms of the web designer that's undoubtedly currently helping Jaron make sure his website's absolutely spick and span. The same guy approached me when I was in trouble a couple of years ago, and my channel was looking like it was going to get shut down. Or in fact, 4 channels looking like they were going to get shut down. People rallied around me. And the same thing is happening now with Nathan Thompson. There's people around him saying, look, we're here for you, we're supporting you, and we're, in no way putting him down, just saying, this could happen to anyone, and explaining the situation as it was. So, Jaron explaining to Nathan Thompson that this is liars being deceitful. It doesn't look good. You got suckered into it. That's how long con works. It all seems like it's legit, and it wasn't. But by the same token, it's not like, let's use a self-deprecating example. It's not like me going against Bob and saying, look, you've been on Netflix, it's caused this great problem, let's get it sorted. Quite the contrary. These people, i.e. these people being, in this example, Jaron and DITRH, are much more willing. Oh, I've got a video that's probably going to get me copyright claimed. Let's just go back onto Dirth's video. Paying attention, Nathan, while I'm talking so wonderfully about Dirth. Yeah, it's a nice community, and it's not a community where people are going to necessarily be backstabbing, and that seems to be getting more and more to be the case as time progresses in this community. Any previous vendettas have been settled, it seems. It's becoming more of a cohesive and supportive community than it's ever been, and having been on the receiving end of some of that support, I can only say how pleased I am to be in this community, especially when we hear the tales of the bullying and the ridicule that even people on their own side of their argument will get on the globe side. So it's nice to be a flat earther, and DITRH is one of the reasons it is nice to be a flat earther. So we've got a few super chats. All hail Dirth, says Del West Watson. Shout out to APP. Is that right? Let's get it on the other screen so I don't misread it. Hold on 1 second. Shout out. Shout his app. All right, my bad. Shout his app. Sun and Moon Zodiac Clock app. Right, indeed. He's got an app out. So on the App Store, it's the Sun and Moon Zodiac Clock app, which was developed by DITRH. So go and check it out. But yeah, all hail Dearth. Any more kind words on Dearth? If not, I'll move on. No. Moving on.
Dearth. Sorry.
Go on, Brian, or whoever
My
that was.
internet's a bit slow.
Go on, Flatsoys.
I'm saying Dearth is actually one of my inspirations of my videos. I have to say, he's definitely worth the watch and definitely worth subscribe.
Perfect. Next, we have got BLMSB69. Now, BLMSB69, for those who are unaware, is the originator of the black swan image. So, there were many black swans prior to BLMSB69. Nobody pointed them out. There was plenty afterwards, including one that I'm going to share with you. Second link down in the live stream chat. So, second link is BLMSB69. So, be here or be sphere. Subscribe today. Please let them know that you sent me. So, if you go and subscribe to Dearth, if you're not already, just drop him a comment. Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Subscribed. Love your work. Keep up the good work. All that sort of stuff. Same goes for BLMSB69. Go and click his link. Go and subscribe. Let him know I sent you. Just say, Nathan Oakley sent me. Really, really love the work. Keep it up. He's not an over-enthusiastic YouTuber, BLMSB69. I think he's kind of indifferent. He puts his material out there, but he's not that fussed about becoming a massive YouTuber. But as is always the case with people who aren't that fussed, he produces some of the best work. So it's definitely worth subscribing to all the same. But yeah, he's not like me. He's not here to make a profit from YouTube. He's here to put his information out, and that's pretty much it. But yeah, still, you need to be subscribed to these people. DITRH, obviously, and BLMSB69 in this instance. So yeah, all hail BLMSB69. Anybody got any kind words they want to say about BMLSB69?
BLMSB69. Yeah, all right, thanks. BLMSB69 and the Black Swan, thank you, Chocolate, are synonymous. Love it. The great channel.
I never heard of it before. You have a link to it?
Yes, Arwin. Second link down in the live stream chat. I assume that was done intentionally and deliberately. Yes, is to BLMSB.
All the way at the top.
Yeah, all the way at the top. BLMSB69. Click on his link, go and subscribe, and say Nathan sent me. Thank you,
which
Arwin.
one is it? The second one?
Yes, Arwin. Yes. Second link down in the live stream chat. Or if you're watching this after the fact, I'll pin it in a comment. Second one down again in the comment if you're watching it after the fact. There we go. Black Swan. Yeah, baby.
All right, subbed.
Cool. Did you leave a comment saying Nathan Oakley sent me? Bet you didn't.
And I literally just said subbed exactly when I just clicked on subbed. So
that's not good enough.
Okay, I'm typing it right now. Nathan.
Nathan Oakley 1980
sent me.
Perfect.
Exclamation mark.
He's not going to know. Plus, I've been looking, I've gone back through the last week's videos and had a look, and worst of them has grown by 50 to 60 subs. Some of them have grown to about 150 more, maybe 200 more as a direct result of this. So, I mean, a huge shout out to all of you who actually did it. And an even bigger shout out to all of you who actually put a comment and said Nathan Oakley sent me. But people have definitely gone and subscribed off the back of last week's recommending these people. So I can only assume from that, like me, they like the people I'm recommending. I watch these videos throughout. Go on, sorry.
Can I shout out all the people that subbed, said thanks for Nathan Oakley sent me?
Of course you can.
I mean, I went up like 110 subs since then, and about 60 people said Nathan Oakley sent me. So shout out to all you guys. Thank you for all your support. That's all I can say.
Nice.
Exactly, that's what it's all about. So we can quantify basically whether or not it's worth doing. And last week I wanted to see. I'll leave it stew for a few days. Went back, assessed whether or not people had actually gone in, subbed. If the numbers had actually gone up, it could just be people saying, "Yeah, I've subbed," just because they want to join in when they're already subscribed. But no, the numbers have definitely increased. I was really pleased to see people subscribing to Josh, to see people subscribing to you, to see people subscribing to Math. And people subscribing to Math going, "Yeah, I've watched your videos." Subscribed. In other words, they'd already watched him, they knew who he was, but they weren't subscribed to him. So they're like, great, why not? And subscribe to these people. Putting in the effort. Any more on BLMSB69? As I say, second link down, go and subscribe today. Let me know I sent you.
I'd like to say something about him. I know he's not like somebody who has is a career YouTuber or anything, but if he gets enough subscribers, then he might have more inspiration. You're not going to wait to do it. Because YouTube makes sure that you don't get much subscribers if you're flat out or you have anything to do with it. But on top of that, BLMSB69 is somebody who did something a couple of years ago that came to light, that was really the light was shone on earlier this year, and we were all going, why didn't we do this a long time ago? But we didn't. And there's a lot of people out there who are very small YouTubers, who are flat earthers over the past 5 years, who've done things like that things that have yet to turn up, who've spoke about stuff that has yet to become a thing, in this argument. And it will in time. So people should go and subscribe to BLMSB69. Even if you only put out a video every 6 months, it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Thank you.
No, perfect plug. If there's any more, please plug BLMSB69 now. Not, we'll move on. No. Moving on, we've got Brian's Logic, who you just heard speaking about BLMSB69. So this particular video is called Response to PhD Sabine, how'd you say her name? Hossenfelder? Is that right? Hossenfelder? Hope I've said that correctly. But this is Brian's response video.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, this is your response video. So obviously, if you do go and subscribe to Brian, if you're not already, he's not very heavily subscribed to, less than 200 subscribers. So give him some love, give him some encouragement. Let him know I sent you. Say Nathan Oakley 80 sent me. Keep up the good work, whatever you like. But he's the third link down in the live stream chat. So click on the link, go and subscribe to him. Let him know I sent you, and enjoy, because Brian, obviously being a panel member, how could I say otherwise, is an exceptionally good YouTuber and definitely worth subscribing to. He does put material out there. He's got a fairly rammed channel full of stuff. So yeah, you need to be subscribed to these people. When they put out new material like this, these response videos, they're not easy to produce, and they're worth watching. I've watched Brian's video. Check it out. Subscribe today. I'm sure we've all got lots of love for Brian.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, just to shout out Brian. Everybody, Brian is not O'Dowd. He's just Brian. He might sound like him, but he's not Chris O'Dowd. He's got quite good content. he's got quite very good content, and I can't believe he's got such a little bit of subscribers. I mean, I thought you'd be more than triple that by now. So, yeah, Brian is definitely worth it.
Yeah, I'll jump in. Brian, you put out some great work. I've always enjoyed it. And of all the people, you've got such a feel for so many parts of this debate. I mean, you're well-rounded on so many subjects. And I love the Cartesian reference points and the GPS material you put out, and how they have the little tangent planes and how they trick everybody. I mean, that was epic. So shout out to you, buddy.
I concur. If it wasn't for Brian, I wouldn't be able to have those arguments. So when it comes to debunking the idea of tangent planes, geodesic surveyors, the begging the question part of it with the models that they utilise, that's all come from Brian. None of it's me. It's all down to Brian. So, a lot of what we do here, well, I do specifically when I'm debating with people, has come from the people around me. And this is the place to find that material out. And Brian's got it in spades. So yeah, definitely go subscribe today. Third link down in the live stream YouTube chat is a link to Brian's Logic. So click on the link, go and subscribe, let him know I sent you. Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, and then I can actually see if this is still proving successful.
Shout out to Brian.
Indeedy do.
Another quick summary. I just joined for that specific purpose, Nathan. Give Brian a shout out. Love his channel, and I love the way Brian goes into the Discords and deals with the ballers as well. Is he either a brave man or a masochist? But yeah, respect to him for that as well. If you hear that stuff, but yeah, love Brian's way. And like I say, if you can get past that bloody accent, it's actually very, very detailed and good stuff. The level of research that he puts in, I think, is outstanding, and the detail you get out of it and understanding, I think. Yeah,
I totally Brian, agree. Just don't hold him being Mexican against him. It's not his fault where he was born.
I'm going to hold it until he does that Westlife song. He's getting jibes until I hear a Westlife tune. He promised me.
Thanks very much, Adam. You know what? if I put everything together onto my channel that I always did, everything that I'd done since 5 years ago, I'd have a huge amount of stuff on there. But I just haven't been a dedicated YouTuber because I'm a bit like other people like BLMSB69, where I have a YouTube channel so I can be on the panel here or whatever, that kind of stuff, as opposed to being someone who's a YouTuber, you know. But I'll work on the accent. Thanks, Adam.
No, you don't need to. It's perfect as it is. There's nothing wrong with your accent. She's just a dick.
I love it. I'm just me, you know.
Well, I was going to say the same about Adam, but I said...
I'm going to say, I get told off for not talking proper and all, mate, so it's always...
Hey, check that out. I get told off for not talking proper and all.
Exactly.
Right, let's not segue too far away from this, right? So I'm going to summarize the three people, right? So all of these are in the live stream chat, so go and subscribe today to first DITRH. So check them out, first link in the comments, live stream chat, I should say. Go and subscribe, let me know I sent you. Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Enjoy, you will not regret it. Same goes for BMLSB69. Second link down in the live stream chat, or if you're watching this after the fact, it will be pinned in the comments. Check his videos out, you will enjoy them. He's got lots of flat earth proof, and yeah, check out his videos, let him know I sent you. Last but by no means least, one of our panel members, the esteemed Brian's Logic. Check him out, go and subscribe, let him know I sent you. So that's it. Should we do a bit of housekeeping? Any signs of a physical geometric sphere edge formerly known as Earth curvature?
Can't reach him anymore.
Can't reach who?
The links to the channels.
Oh, you can't reach them anymore. Oh, well, I'll have to resolve that. That's glad you told me, Owen. Thank you. So, first link going into the live stream chat now. Getting an extra long plug today. It's taken 20 minutes. Well, that's okay. These people are great, so you're going to talk about them more, right? So, first link that's just gone into the live stream chat is to DITRH. Second link that's going in right now is going to be BLMSB69. And last but by no means least, link going into the chat third is going to be Brian's Logic, as they have dropped off because so many people are chatting. So subscribe today. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon, formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
No. Definitely flat. Even Chris O'Dowd says it's flat.
And shout out to BLMSB69, not from Miramar Beach.
Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
You mean 15 degrees drift?
As Earth turns underneath, stuff not attached. That's what they claim.
It's the Coriolis drift. That's not drifting, yet objects still drift. So it's drift, but no drift. You figure it out.
You can think of it as a drift.
This is a perfect time for ballers to come on right now and tell us Earth-based Coriolis and show us 15-degree drift. This perfect opportunity.
You and your reference frames are ruined.
What, so thanks, Dan? No drift? Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Nope.
What is the sun?
Shout out to Alexander for the super chat. Good question. Don't know. Would love to know.
Can't even see it today.
No, can't even see it. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Only in the illustrations.
12 kilometres, I heard.
Yeah. Is that how deep Earth is? Just 12 Ks?
And think of it as being 12k.
Maybe they got the radius wrong.
What radius? Any evidence of the R value, Earth radius?
Oh, hold on. I just want to address somebody in chat about the previous question. He says, it's not 15 degrees drift, you bloody morons. Okay, welcome to stationary Earth.
Yeah, welcome to flat Earth. So Earth not turning underneath, no drift. Okay. Obviously, Foucault was wrong. Obviously, when they say turning Earth under bullets, they're wrong. Obviously, Neil deGrasse Tyson saying that the ball drifts through the goal because Earth turned underneath it is wrong. welcome to Flat Earth.
Don't you think it's really
Sounds
strange
like the
that
Coriolis. Sounds like the Coriolis virus is spreading.
I don't know. I think we should get his name. We need to track him. What's his name, Arwin? 6th confirmed case.
Tag Force.
Tag Force. He's been infected with the Coriolis virus. A virus that afflicts only ballers when they tell us about how we don't have Earth turning underneath to cause drift. It's spreading like wildfire. An
He says now there is Coriolis drift, but not 15 degrees.
But wouldn't you need 15 degrees an hour to make one rotation of Earth?
Yeah, that's
Per
what they
day.
claim proves it. Earth turning underneath stuff not attached, Coriolis effect, an observation of not actual deflection as you turn underneath stuff. I.e., you look at a drone seeming to drift away from you. It's still drifting away from you as you turn underneath if you've got Coriolis. It's just we don't see it. Your drone doesn't drift away.
The sun is moving 15 degrees an hour, so if that's based on Earth turning, how could he say not 15 degrees? That virus is killing him.
It's killing them. It's disgustingly terrible. But we need to track and trace these people with the Coriolis virus so we know exactly where they are so they don't infect other globe heads who don't understand and at this point are just ignorant and don't even have an awareness that there's a Coriolis virus spreading like wildfire.
Yeah, there needs to be an app you download for people who have the virus. And for, you know, you can state whether you're positive or not on it. And, you know.
I didn't think we had to worry, guys.
Should I take a test?
I thought.
Yeah, I've got the
promised a
test for you.
vaccine by
Hold on. I've got a test for you. So, the test to see if you have contracted the Coriolis virus is a simple one. You ask the person one simple question. Does Earth turn underneath?
I mean, you don't have to.
Right. Well, so far he said, the guy, Tag Force in chat, that there is drift. It's just that momentum causes you to not see it.
So no drift then. So no drift.
Yeah.
No drift.
We just don't see it. So
Well, they
not
have drift when you
apparent.
don't.
Let me get it straight, Arwin. So he's saying it's a not apparent drift. No, they need an apparent drift 15 degrees an hour as Earth turns underneath. So welcome to Flat Earth again. You're saying there's no drift. Well, that's a bummer, because that's what you need to prove we're spinning. And even if you were correct and we had them not appearing to drift, then there'd be no difference between a stationary Earth and a spinning Earth. But that's not what you claim. You claim we have drift at 15 degrees an hour as Earth turns underneath stuff not attached. Of course, your actual globe claim of drift at 15 degrees an hour as Earth turns underneath would shorten flights travelling west. Charlotte, North Carolina to LA, for example, would only take an hour and a half if Earth was turning underneath the plane at 15 degrees an hour. And in reality, it doesn't. It takes 4.5 hours because Earth's not rotating underneath at 15 degrees an hour. But feel free to tell us from the globe side all about how there isn't drift, like Tag's doing. Shout out to James Richards.
Nathan.
Hold on. Shout out to James Richards. Says, how can one have a magnetic molten iron core? Quote, Curie point, ? You can't. They just made it up, James Richard. Thank you very much for the super chat. Go on,
Yeah,
Ted.
Nathan, 4 days ago, we addressed Dr. Becky when the title of her latest video was, Why Don't We Feel the Earth Spinning? So they say everything is happening, but there's no way of attesting to it, feeling it, or proving it. I think they got the virus.
Yeah, I have to
This guy's holding on to a new straw man, basically saying, no, there is drift, it's just not 15 degrees. But he refused to say how much it is. It should be less then. So where's this less drift then?
Doesn't understand Coriolis force. His last comment, Nathan Oakley. If I'm on the edge of a CCW, rotating roundabout, merry-go-round, and throw a ball at the centre, does it go left, right, or directly over the centre? Coriolis effect is the observation of the ball. You're describing the ball's actual trajectory? Well, you don't understand Coriolis. It's not about an actual trajectory. It's about what you observe of it. seeming to do as you turn underneath it? Why are you asking me about the ball's actual trajectory when Coriolis is not actual? These idiots like Tagforce who deny we have drift don't understand what drift is and ask us all about projectiles when Coriolis is an observation of something not actually happening, i.e. the drone on a rotating Earth would seem to drift away at 1,000 miles an hour because you're rotating underneath as it hovers. Obviously, we don't see anything drifting away at 1,000 miles an hour. Not actual deflection because we're turning underneath it according to a globe Earth that spins claim. We don't observe that. Drones don't drift away at 1,000 miles an hour. But this guy's going to ask me about the actual trajectory of the drone when Coriolis is observed as you turn underneath. They're just thick. This tag guy, thick.
Well, not only is he thick, but he didn't listen to what I said earlier. The largest luminary in the sky, which is the sun, if the Earth is turning under the sun to make the sun appear to be moving, right? Because the Earth is turning, it's 15 degrees an hour. He's missing the biggest luminary to prove Earth rotation.
Yeah, he's asking me what I would expect the ball to do. Yeah, it's not my claim tag. Yeah, I don't have any claims that utilise reference frames. I do have a quote from one of your own side, though. In terms of what I would expect the ball to do, I don't use this to claim anything. But you do, and guess what? You and your reference frames used to claim Earth has Coriolis effect are ruined. You and your reference frames are ruined. What do I expect the ball to do? Couldn't care less. I'm not utilising Coriolis to claim Earth turns underneath at 15 degrees an hour. You are. So maybe you could tell us what you would expect the ball to do when it's supposed to be you observing the ball, not actually doing something, just you rotating underneath it. While you simultaneously tell us that that's not a reasonable thing to claim when we're not claiming it. You idiots don't seem to get that an attack on us and our use of reference frames is benign. We don't have any. You and your reference frames are ruined because we don't see 15 degrees an hour drift. Now, the Coriolis virus spreading to these infected people needs to be ignored. These people like Tag. These people are just the infected, unfortunate ones. Now, the primary people who put out this infection, that would be people like Becky and Dan and Craig, they're ground zero. And that's what you've really got to do. You've got to attack the source of these problems, these infections, these toxic people who are spreading these diseases, the Coriolis virus in this instance. They are the ones that need to be addressed. So, you and your reference frames are ruined. We don't have any. But you do. And we don't see the effect of a second reference frame turning underneath. Feel free to tell us how we don't see it. How things are drifting together? An oxymoron. So we can point out that you've clearly contracted the Coriolis virus.
I think,
can I insert? Oh, I gotta read this one out.
You want to go. I go after one.
It's quick. Okay, Mike Fox in chat now says, plane has engines that counter that force. It's a small force to a plane.
So it's not a force, it's a not actual deflection observed as you turn underneath. So on a roundabout, you seeing the ball seem to curve because you're turning underneath it, is the not actual effect of Coriolis force. So it's not an actual force, Fundies. I know you struggle with this. And again, you're detailing the projectile rather than the observation as you turn underneath. That's Coriolis, which again, Mike doesn't understand because he immediately wants to start talking about the projectile's actual path and how it's affected by a force. No, you clown. It's you rotating underneath to make it seem to do something that Coriolis effect is describing with a not actual force. You complete imbecile.
I think this is more serious than we first recognised because the Coriolis virus seems to be spreading through live chat from person to person.
Yeah, they're all denying the 15 degrees an hour turn of the Earth underneath is something that proves it and continually justifying not having the 15 degrees an hour drift they need to prove Earth spins. Asking us what we would expect balls to do when they're using this example to prove we spin with a drift no one's observing. No one's seeing drones fly away from them 1,000 miles an hour because we're turning underneath them. Roll on, Coriolis virus victims telling us how we wouldn't expect drift.
But Nathan, if we have a drone hovering above a roundabout and it's still seeming to deviate, How is he claiming that, like, a plane has somehow against the Coriolis, if we can still see it with a drone on a demonstration? Is it possible for them to demonstrate anything for us that they make claims about?
Yeah, got this tag force. His infection's getting the better of him. He's obviously getting high temperature, all cap shouty letters. Then, where does the ball actually go? Question mark. Left, right, or straight over the centre? Question mark. Oh, well, thank you for your very polite tone in chat, tag force. The actual course of the ball is irrelevant, Def. What's the problem? Coriolis is not actual direction of ball, and the apparent direction of the ball. Why are you asking me about it when I've already said this isn't my claim? And I don't need balls to do anything over rotating platforms as we rotate underneath things not attached. This isn't my claim. I know you need the 6 months ago position to still be true, where you attack me on me describing your position with Earth turning underneath and saying, no, it's not Earth turning underneath. They don't drift, they move together. Yeah, that's screwed. Dan ruined that for you, tag. Yeah, you've got you and your reference frames being ruined, and Netflix making it clear that we have Earth turning underneath things not attached. We've got Neil deGrasse Tyson making it clear that balls drift because Earth turns underneath them. We've got your own side who come and debate with us about how snipers have to account for Earth turning underneath the bullets. But yet that would shorten flight times. Charlotte to LA would take an hour and a half instead of 4.5 hours if Earth was turning underneath. And that simply does not happen. We don't see drift, nothing's drifting. But you ask me all day about what I'd expect the ball to do when I don't need reference frames. Quote, Simon Dan, you and your reference frames have been ruined. End quote, Simon Dan. Verbatim, word for word, including his stuttering. Because you and your reference frames are ruined, globe-believing fundies who don't have drift to show us, and justify with a Coriolis virus infection how we don't have 15 degrees now drift, and to say Earth's turning underneath isn't correct, when it's your claim. So keep telling us, let this infection spread so we can deal with it at source level. That'll be people like Craig, people like Simon Dan, quote, you and your reference frames have been ruined, end quote, and Dr. Becky, Rumpus, who can suddenly stutter and no longer define what a bloody pendulum does because of this problem Dan's caused. Because you've got Earth rotating underneath pendulums, fundies. Keep telling us how you don't have drift.
I think they're working up a fever, Nathan.
I know, it's brilliant. Spreading like wildfire, it's great.
Almost like Simon Dan was an outbreak monkey.
Yeah, he's ground zero.
I think... sorry.
Outbreak monkey.
You were out on a limb on that one, Chocolate.
No, he's not wrong. It's analogous to a virus. That's why I'm drawing the comparison. It's spread. There's a good chance it's already part of people's bloodstream. And this is just it exhibiting itself in a way that can be defined. Like when people arbitrarily assign various different states of mind to people and call it psychology. Well, we can do that too. The affliction in this instance is people who should think Earth turns underneath to cause drift, to prove we spin, telling us all about how we don't have it. How Earth is not turning underneath, how there isn't a second reference frame. In fact, the reference frames used by the globe to claim we spin are ruined. Now that's a very big disease that they're all suffering from and they didn't even know it. And we're the cure. We can save you, Globers. Earth is not spinning. There is no second reference frame. Dan's right. You and your reference frames claimed to prove Earth's spin are ruined. And Dan ruined them for you.
I just want to add to what Kent was said earlier. I think what they need, I think for these people, the first step towards getting better would be actually accepting their own model. So for these people, what is a solar day? Because the claim on their side is that the sun moves 15 degrees an hour, making a 360-degree circle around us due to Earth rotating once a day, 360 degrees. So 360 degrees has to be 15 degrees an hour. I don't. It can't be anything else. You know, that kind of.
I remember somebody telling us that's irrelevant.
Yeah, again, that tag force guy, Alwyn, suckered me into discussing it within the chat, says, Nathan Oakley, 1980, objects moving across any rotating surface. But his previous message, Coriolis, is not the Earth turning underneath things. Is that so? Welcome to Flat Earth, Tag Force. We would agree. You don't have Earth-based Coriolis effect. Earth isn't turning underneath things. But that's precisely what Coriolis effect would give you if Earth was turning. That would be Earth turning underneath things. Now, the fact that you're more than happy with your Coriolis infection to tell us, quote, Coriolis is not the Earth turning underneath things. Yeah, you don't have that. We know. Earth does not have Coriolis effect. That would be you turning underneath things. That's precisely what Coriolis effect is. You just don't have it on a turning Earth because Earth is not turning. But you keep vomiting out that infection all over the chat for us there, Tag. Thanks very much.
Now he's saying that Coriolis effect doesn't exist on the flat Earth. I'm pretty sure it does, Mike Fox. It's just not the Earth that's doing it.
Oh, so now he denies Coriolis effect altogether? Coriolis is real. You can observe it from a roundabout. Have two people stand either end of a roundabout on the ground, not spinning with the roundabout, throwing a ball to each other. They will throw the ball in a straight line back and forth over the top of the roundabout. Now, if you are then sitting on the roundabout, turning underneath, it'll seem like the ball's curving as you turn underneath. Basically, to have Coriolis effect, you've got to be turning underneath stuff. And what do you know? This infection has spread throughout the land and has led these ballers to believe that Coriolis effect isn't turning underneath stuff because Earth isn't turning underneath stuff. Yeah, Coriolis still happens on a flat Earth that we live on. That's just exhibited by a roundabout and stuff that's not attached to it, seeming to do stuff it isn't because you're turning underneath it. But you would deny the very premise of Coriolis effect because Earth isn't doing it, right? Yeah, we know. It's called the Coriolis virus.
There's another, I think there's someone else, Planet Earthling. I think he's now after being affected. That's number 7 or 8, is it?
That's 8 confirmed cases. 8 confirmed cases of the Coriolis virus. Just while we're live, it's doubled. That's 100% increase.
Not a Kuma virus?
Oh no, that it hasn't doubled because he made 5. My bad. Hasn't quite doubled yet.
Hey, these guys are doubling so fast that it's reaching amnesia state. They're forgetting their own position.
Yeah, should we see if we can fry Tag's brains in the chat? So Earth does not turn underneath a pendulum, Tag. Just simple yes or no from the chat. Let's see if we can make him completely explode. So he's basically telling us, Earth turning underneath? No, that's not Coriolis. We don't have Coriolis. Earth isn't turning underneath. So Earth isn't turning underneath a pendulum, Tag. Yes or no? Does Earth turn under a pendulum? Can someone quote the, or send in Discord, or G+, sorry. I'll get there in the end. In Skype, can someone send me the little description of Foucault's pendulum that overtly states Earth's turning underneath the pendulum to cause it to seem to drift, just so we can correct Tag on his own rhetoric, and then point out that if Earth was turning under a pendulum precisely as claimed, then it would turn underneath balls, as Neil deGrasse Tyson's claiming, and it would shorten flight times because Earth would be turning underneath planes because they're not attached, for us to have this effect of looking at them seem to drift. Of course, he's denying that because he's got this virus. Can anybody stick that quote in?
Yeah, I'm on it. I'll get it.
Perfect. We'll see how Tag gets on explaining to us, because he's clearly claiming Earth and Coriolis effect isn't observable, and Earth turning underneath isn't what Coriolis effect is. Does Earth turn underneath the pendulum there, Tag? But you're completely misunderstanding what's actually happening, says Tag Force. Well, maybe you can clarify, Tag Force. Does Earth turn underneath a pendulum? Because you're saying that's absolutely not the case. Seems like you've got a bit of a problem. Same problem as Rumpus had, surprisingly. Let's see if you can stutter on your keyboard like Rumpus did when he was here live. Earth not turning underneath a pendulum. Tag Force is about to debunk Foucault. Let's see how he does get on. Will he give us an answer? He's made it clear Earth turning underneath isn't what's happening. So Earth isn't turning underneath a pendulum then, Tag Force.
It's coming your way. It's taking a little while to download.
Welcome to but you're not. But not on your debate show. Yes, you are, Tag. You're in the chat. It's just we're not often interactive with our chat. And now I'm directly asking you a question you're avoiding. Earth, according to you, and it turning underneath isn't what we're describing in Coriolis effect. And when we're describing it, we're clarifying your claim. I'm now asking Tag Force, who's made it explicitly clear in the chat, Earth turning underneath is not what's going on. I've welcomed him to Flat Earth, but now I'm asking him, from his globe rhetoric he's still got with this Coriolis virus, if he can say yes or no to a simple question. Does Earth turn underneath a pendulum, Tag Force? Maybe a short circuit moment. Please keep me updated on the reply while I do this.
He says already said no, it's not.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Can someone read out this picture of the chair with the Foucault pendulum example? Can someone read that out for me? Maybe 10th Manners, it's you that's posted it.
Yeah, I got it. The Foucault pendulum. Okay, the Foucault pendulum swings back and forth in the same plane while a stool is turned beneath it. Likewise, a Foucault pendulum on the Earth's surface swings back and forth in the same plane while the Earth turns beneath it. The amount of turning observed depends on the latitude of the pendulum.
So Tag Force, with his Coriolis virus infection, doesn't seem to be able to cope with the fact that they absolutely claim Earth turns underneath pendulums, gyroscopes, footballs, bullets, and that would shorten flight times, Tag Force. So you're saying no, and yet Foucault is saying yes. So as much as you are a nameless, faceless troll in the chat who's denying Earth turning underneath at 15 degrees an hour because you're affected with the Coriolis virus, you're telling me in no uncertain terms, answer to my question is a simple no for the third time. The pendulum doesn't have Earth turning underneath, according to Tag Force, and a lot of people affected with the Coriolis virus. So welcome to Flat Earth, Tag Force. Earth is not turning beneath the pendulum as Foucault claimed. Here it is in black and white as per your heliocentric rhetoric, and it makes it explicitly clear that they're claiming Earth is turning beneath this pendulum, Tag Force. Third time, maybe tell me a fourth time that you're willing to debunk your own claim that Earth turns underneath. Fourth time's a charm, my friend. Tell me again how no, Earth isn't turning under the pendulum, right? Yeah, we know. Welcome to Flat Earth. Good job debunking Foucault. Thank you for debunking Foucault, Tag Force. You'll go down in history as the same level of infected clown as Simon Dan and Craig Fight the Flat Earth and Dr. Becky, because you've just debunked Foucault. Well done. Good dog.
He's getting into really weird territory currently because now he said they're addressing you. That's indeed the simple way to explain it. Yet it is technically wrong.
Oh, Foucault's technically wrong. I don't care, technically or otherwise. Earth's supposed to be turning underneath at 15 degrees an hour. That would shorten flights going west, and it does not happen. So you've got to tell me that it's kind of like it happens, but you've told me 3 times that it's not? Yeah, that's just because you've got a bit of a problem, a bit of a short circuit. Earth's supposed to be turning underneath at 15 degrees an hour to prove it spins, but that would cause things to drift away 1,000 miles an hour on the equator. And you've got to tell us that we just don't understand Coriolis. And Earth turning underneath isn't the effect. And Earth isn't turning under the pendulum. Third time's a charm. No, you've just debunked Foucault, you complete idiots. That's what this virus does for you. It means that any gyroscope or pendulum claim is instantly debunked when you tell us all about how Earth isn't turning underneath. You're debunking the claim proof Earth spins. Well done, infected globetards. Shout out to Rakia Life. Says, quick, shut down the airports. Quarantine them. Yeah, the virus is spreading fast, Rakia.
We've just got it. As you said that, Nathan, he just typed it in just to confirm you're correct. It isn't. The pendulum is on a stool, which is connected to the Earth. So how could it be turning underneath it? So he's right. He's debunking Foucault. Well done.
Yeah, how could it be turning underneath? Well, it's exampling how Earth would be turning underneath, my friend. Something you've made clear 3 times you're willing to debunk. No, it's not Earth turning underneath as described by Foucault. How could it be? You're asking us how it could be. This isn't our claim, you stupid idiot. Why won't you go and ask your own side why Earth isn't turning underneath pendulums, as you're telling us 3 times? No, Earth not turning underneath. And then when it's claimed it is turning underneath the pendulum, you think it's reasonable to ask us why it isn't. It's not a claim. When will you idiots understand? We're not the ones who need reference frames. You are. You claim them with Foucault and tell us all about how Earth isn't turning underneath. Foucault pendulum, aeroplanes, hot air balloons, drones. But what is turning underneath? Footballs, bullets, gyros and pendulums. But it isn't turning under pendulums. Yeah, it's a big short circuit. And we're just going to laugh at you and point out how infected you are with this disease of globe belief.
Don't you think it's quite strange that Foucault's pendulum has just gone missing, that you can't find it? Not to mention the first gyro also just gone missing, you can't find it.
Makes no odds to me.
I think John was trying to say something.
Go on.
Sorry, Paul, I go after you.
Well, what also is along that same lines, Flatzoid, I've had the Globers on Discord tell me that a mechanical gyro cannot pick up precession unless it's precise enough. Now, do you think Foucault and his gyro was more precise than, let's say, one that you could buy yourself for $300 or $400 is less precise than that one that he used?
Regardless of the precision, who was just talking? Was it Paul? I should know from the kids in the background.
Yes, Paul.
Paul, regardless of the precision, when you say we wouldn't detect precession, what would cause this so-called precession that we should or shouldn't see? What would be the cause of that precession?
Earth rotating underneath the gyro.
Oh, so the precession we should see in the gyro would be caused by something that the chat and other infected globe believers are telling us doesn't happen. So Earth not turning underneath according to the chat at the moment. Obviously, it sent them into a bit of a frenzy. But they're all making it really clear Earth isn't turning underneath, but you're saying other fundies tell us how we should see deflection, apparent drift in a gyro as Earth turns underneath it. Bit like the Foucault pendulum claim I put up on screen a minute ago, with Earth turning beneath the pendulum, something they're really going out of their way to tell us doesn't happen. Debunking their own claims. It's really mad. But you say we should, if we've got a really precise gyro, be able to observe Earth turning underneath it, right, Paul?
That's what they tell us. That's what I've heard before. If you have a really good precise one, you should be able to detect it.
I see. So with a really precise gyro, we'll be able to see 15 degrees an hour of the Earth turning underneath the fixed frame of the gyro. Well, that would shorten flight times. If Earth was turning underneath as a second reference frame, quote Dan, you and your reference frames are ruined, then you wouldn't have Earth turning underneath planes, would you? Oh, you would. 15 degrees an hour underneath planes if it's turning underneath a gyro in its fixed frame to show this deflection. That's Earth turning underneath planes, shortening their flight times. And that doesn't happen. That'd be Earth turning underneath a drone on the equator at 1,000 miles an hour and it whizzing away from you as you turned under it. And that doesn't happen. But yet, with a really precise gyro, we can see how it does. Oh, no. No, we're even being told by their own side, Paul. This claim that Earth turns underneath, that doesn't happen. They're more than happy to tell us 3 times in a row that it's not the case, even though it's being claimed by pendulums and gyros and bullets and balls.
But
well, what needs to happen is... Sorry, one second.
Mike Fox is ad homing now. He's
Arwin and Flatzoid.
And now he's ad homing me.
Arwin and Flatzoid. Go ahead, Brian.
Thank you, Nathan. What needs to happen is these people in the chat who have this virus, what they need to do is post in the chat or anywhere they can get it to you, a physical demonstration of what they're claiming. That would be the easiest thing, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you need to start showing us.
It's weird.
I mean, obviously we don't want any of the infected demonstrations. We don't want any people showing us, like, for example, a guy bouncing whilst being towed by a tractor, not drifting underneath. Well, that would be obviously a retarded demonstration given by somebody infected with the Coriolis virus. We would need to see examples that do show the claimed 15 degrees an hour as Earth turns underneath, exhibited in something. Obviously, as soon as you prove that, for example, with a really precise gyro, we'd point out that that would shorten flights going west. And a Charlotte to LA flight would only take an hour and a half if Earth was turning underneath. Yeah. So we're not going to need a demonstration that shows us with a second reference frame, because that will instantly be debunked by a flight not having a shortened flight time. And just telling us that we wouldn't expect to see drift debunks the claim Foucault's making. So, yeah, there's a lot of poison around these parts at the moment. It doesn't seem to matter which way they turn, they're going to end up dead.
Well, they're going
Not to
to
mention
either
gyros.
send you a video. Sorry, go on, Flats. I'll tell you. I'll go in a second.
I'm just saying it. No, not to mention the gyros can process both ways, not just one way. So how do you equate that to Earth spin if it can go the other way?
I don't care. They need Earth turning underneath at 15 degrees an hour and now shortened flight times. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, well, they can only show you one of two things. They can either show you the Earth from what they call space rotating, or they can show you the Earth from where we are on the ground, not rotating. So they can either show you it not rotating in what we know as reality, or they can show it rotating in what they claim is reality.
I see.
And either way, they run into a brick wall.
So to summarise, you're saying either they show you a fake picture from a fake place, that would be outer space, a sky vacuum, second law of thermodynamics violation, with a picture of Earth turning a bit like you'd see at the cinema with Superman flying around it to make the world turn backwards. Or you can have demonstrations on the ground with nothing drifting and just have your fundy ground troops explain away that 3 times in a row, no, Earth isn't claimed to turn underneath. Foucault's pendulum. Embarrassing, right?
Well,
yeah, very much so.
I think we've got a welcome to flat Earth. Because Tag Force has now said, look, let me tell you in a different way then, Nathan. If the Earth was turning underneath, the pendulum would precess 360 degrees per 24 hours. It doesn't. Tag, welcome to flat Earth, mate.
Oh, so if Earth was turning underneath, well, if Earth was turning underneath, Tag Force, a flight from Charlotte, North Carolina to Los Angeles would only take an hour and a half because Earth would be rotating underneath as a second reference frame. So what, now you've conceded 3 times that Earth isn't rotating underneath? You want to give us an example where it is? Oh, be our guest. Because if Earth's rotating underneath, you'd have shortened flight times. And you'd have drones whizzing away from you at 1,000 miles an hour on the equator because we'd be turning underneath them. Now that's absurd. But thank you so much for actually now claiming Earth does turn underneath things not attached, so we can absolutely pummel the fact that they don't. Like flights not being reduced in their air travel time because Earth is definitely not turning underneath them, as claimed by Foucault and denied by you. This virus has you very confused. You seem to want to take 3 attempts to tell us how Earth turning underneath isn't correct, only to say if Earth was turning underneath the pendulum, then we'd see deflection. Like we don't understand what you're claiming and denying simultaneously, idiot. Yeah, this virus is a big problem. It's going to cause a lot of confusion in the people who are affected. They're going to spend a long time denying Earth turning underneath, only to then go on to ask us what we would expect when it's not our claim, and then later tell us how we should think about Earth turning underneath a Foucault pendulum they've just debunked. Marvellous work. Marvellous work, Globers. Keep it up. Let the infection spread far and wide, like this show when shared on Facebook and Twitter.
Nathan is getting bad here. He's saying, that's not the drift we're claiming, you dimwit. And he's on the position that Earth is turning. It's getting bad.
So these aren't the droids you're looking for.
Before we round out, let's ask the same guy the same question. So, given that you've denied it 3 times, made it really clear in shouty caps that 3 times in a row, no, Earth doesn't turn under the pendulum. Does Earth turn under the Foucault pendulum? Yes or no? We've had no 3 times so far. Let's see if he says yes. Does Earth turn under the pendulum, Tag?
1454 in the chat that it shortens flight times.
We'll get to that when he says yes, given that he's already said no 3 times, but now he's asking me to think about Earth turning under a pendulum. Something he said doesn't happen, Earth doesn't turn underneath. So I'm asking him again, does Earth turn under Foucault's pendulum? No, the pendulum turns with the Earth. Well, so it's not drifting then. So no 15 degrees an hour, as is claimed by Foucault, as he claims Earth turns underneath. So fourth time's a charm. He's going to debunk the claim that Foucault pendulum demonstrates Earth turning underneath, as exampled in this citation, where it makes it specifically clear that Earth is claimed to turn beneath it. But Tag Force says no. The infection runs wild.
Yeah, he's after replying, no, Tag Force says, no, the pendulum turns with the Earth.
But not drifting at 15 degrees an hour then. It's not deflecting then. Moving with the Earth as it turns, so you wouldn't notice any effect then. So no proof we spin, no deviation, no 15 degrees an hour turn of the Earth underneath, as is claimed by Foucault. Just put it up one more time for the audience's benefit for this complete idiot in the chat who says no, Earth doesn't turn under the Foucault pendulum. So this claim on screen, which says it does, is debunked by a globehead in chat who says no, that's not what's happening. So no, Tag Force makes it clear 4th time in a row, Earth is not turning underneath the pendulum. Good job we cleared that up, because that was supposed to be a proof you spin. We don't. We're stationary. Thank you for debunking Foucault's pendulum by saying Earth isn't turning underneath. Welcome to Flat Earth. With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who did tune in live. If you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. A massive thank you to today's Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. Stay tuned if you're watching on either premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
The pegs are being knocked down because it's accredited to Earth turn. Now this guy's saying, no, it doesn't do anything. It goes with the Earth turning. So nothing should happen. Why are the pegs falling down then?
I heard you, Tim. Man, I'm about to go into a meeting, so I gotta be quiet.
Yeah, no problem. That was good.
Yeah, it's going to be causing them a lot of strife is going to be had over this Coriolis virus. Because at the bottom line, you've only got them denying the effect that's being claimed by Foucault. No, Earth doesn't turn underneath. That's a sloppy description. Well, why did Foucault describe it that way then?
Yeah, I could just see it at a mall near you. Hey, Daddy, why are those pegs falling down? But the Earth is turning underneath. That's why. And then Tag Force comes, no, that's not why it's happening.
Yeah, we need them to parrot the right claim. Their claim is Earth should turn underneath, things not attached. Now, obviously, the pendulum and gyroscope examples are physically attached to the frame of reference that's turning, but its gyroscopic motion enables them to see the drift, i.e. the thing moving in its cage as the Earth is claimed to rotate underneath, or in the case of the pendulum, it moving to knock over the dominoes because it's drifting at 15 degrees an hour or whatever latitude is supposed to be claimed to be causing that deflection. It's obviously varied with the latitude line that you're on. Nevertheless, it's still claimed to be Earth turning underneath it. It's just as simple as that. Now, the speed that you're turning underneath, varied with your latitude, would vary the amount of drift that you'd have when you've got something physically attached that's only supposed to be swinging back and forth. But doesn't. Oh, it looks like it's knocking the dominoes over. It's not. It's just because Earth's claimed to turn underneath it. Cue the chat telling us, infected as they are, no, that's not what we claim. It's not really quite right to say exactly what it says on your citation, that Earth should be spinning beneath it. No, that's wrong. Okay, keep denying it, man. We love it. Welcome to Flat Earth.
Sounds familiar too. We shouldn't expect to see the geometric horizon.
That's it.
Well, that's two concessions in 1 year. We shouldn't expect to see the geometric horizon, and we shouldn't expect to feel Earth turning underneath us or see it.
Well, the Foucault pendulum was the #1 go-to for the bowlers as a proof that the Earth was rotating for 4 years, up until this year. If I remember right. I don't know, Adam, Nathan, anyone listening was there back 5 years ago? Do you remember that constantly?
Absolutely. Yeah, gyro and pendulum, but they're essentially demonstrating the same thing. But yes.
That's the curiosity of it, isn't it? This next play by them, it's take their fundamental principles that all the normies. If you asked a normie what demonstrates a ball, those things like Foucault, gyroscope, they're now taking those things and throwing them under the bus, trying to get rid. I mean, I don't know what they want to do with it, because they seem to be just avoiding the topic now. Happy to say it's not. I mean, that guy there was, as you nicely summarised as we came into the after show, Nathan. Yeah, of course, there's a little bit of variation if you're going to pretend you're on the ball and latitude. Yeah, don't know whether he was trying to work at that, but he was still avoiding the point that, as you highlighted, it's still turning underneath. Whether that rate changes a little bit based on latitude is kind of irrelevant. There's still a rotation that pendulum's supposed to be picking up. Hence why the gifts show it at the North or South Pole. Do you know what I mean? So I'm confused as to where this takes them, or whether it is all that's left. You know what I mean? It's maybe it's just because they're backed into a corner and this is the only play they've got left to run around.
Whoever developed this play, it's a clever play because it's not been detected till now. So it might have been, with Brian saying 4 years, I don't know the exact time period. But leaving a flat earther having to argue with a baller about what they're actually claiming rather than debunking the actual claim. So in other words, most of the arguments up until now are a glober saying, well, Earth and atmosphere spin together. Obviously, we wouldn't see planes have shortened flight times. You go, no, you're supposed to have Earth turning underneath. So both sides are talking about globe and Earth turn. Well, that's pretty much an excellent will, until it fails. And it fails spectacularly. And it fails because of idiots like Simon Dan saying, you and your reference frames are ruined when we don't have any. That's the kind of thing that breaks the camel's back, right?
It's like, it's all right. It's frustrating for us, isn't it? And a little enlightening as we analyse where they're going with their debating. But how is it perceived to a normie and a newbie just coming in who's inquisitive? Do they feel they're presenting a good case at this point? Because that's the important thing for me. We know it. You know what I mean? We know that they know it, and we know it. Do you know what I mean? But the point of this is to get that message out for those folks that turn up who aren't deciding and just investigating. How are they perceiving what these ballers are now doing? How they're presenting their side of the argument? It just seems not beneficial to their cause. This route.
As I say, it used to be the case that any debate about Coriolis would end up in both sides discussing how Earth should be turning, either underneath to cause deflection we don't see, or not turning underneath to not display deflection, but assumed to be turning anyway. Well, both cases leave your globe side in a win. So great. Up until now, it's a great argument for their side to instigate. Now, as soon as they say, well, no, that's not turning underneath anything, that's the wrong way of describing it, that's not Coriolis, you go, okay, no drift then. You and your reference frame's ruined then.
What's actually interesting is that just what Adam stated there a minute ago about the claim that they're making that it may not be exactly 15 degrees an hour because of latitude and different things. This nonsense they're likely to they're going on with or will go on with and have been going on with. The truth is, back a couple of years ago, the reason that the Foucault pendulum was used as such a proof of Earth rotation was because it didn't matter what latitude you're at, it always deviated at 15 degrees. So if they're saying it's not deviating at 15 degrees, then it's nothing to do with Earth turn, because Earth turn has to be 15 degrees because that's the reason we are told when we were growing up that we have a sunrise and a sunset. So it's not 15 degrees, then it's nothing to do with your claim. You can throw Foucault and his pendulum and his gyro in the bin.
They die either way. But they die either way. So, okay, let's say they argue in line with what you're saying. Okay, yeah, you're right. It doesn't matter what latitude. It is 15 degrees an hour as Earth turns underneath the pendulum. Excellent. Well, that would mean that flight times would be reduced when going west. That would mean your drone would whiz away at 1,000 miles an hour. No. Those things are travelling together. Well, then we wouldn't see drift. No 15 degrees an hour deviation from the ground as we turn underneath them. Then if they're travelling together, there's no drift. And so it goes on. It's a swift death. No drift because they say they travel together. Or drift that would shorten flight times. Pick your poison. I don't care.
Nathan, I got 3 pictures in Master B of cranes at the end of the day, basically. So if Earth was turning underneath, wouldn't these things be moving? Wouldn't this be like a Foucault pendulum?
Yes, they would. And they'd just start swinging of their own volition.
So there you go, ballers.
I know one of the magic tricks I used to use to convince myself of Coriolis. It's mathematical, but I can demonstrate it with a curveball. And I think everybody would believe that a curveball is actually curving. But you have to put it in, like, create 2 different Cartesian coordinates for the ball. And then you could say that there's a 4th dimension, we'll call it gravity, in which the ball's actually traveling straight. So everything else around it is actually curved.
Okay, so you're saying that the ball has an actual deflection because in the reference frame of the gravitational field, it's traveling straight, but the path in every other reference frame is curving. That would be an actual curve or a not actual curve?
Well, I mean, it's an actual curveball, but that's how you conflate it in your mind, or that's how I used to.
Okay, but I'm just saying in that conflation, is the ball that you're describing in that description actually curving then? Its path is actually curved?
No, it wouldn't be in that description because I brought it completely in the conceptual, and in my mind, it could be traveling straight.
But if it's travelling straight, so if you've conceptualised a means of making it travel straight, then travelling straight isn't seeming to curve. And if you say, well, no, it is actually curving in reality, well, Coriolis is not actual curve, so neither of these work in either instance.
Well, no, you say that the mathematical description of it is the actual, and then what you're observing is only apparent. That's the trick.
No, because you've already clarified that the ball is actually curving, so it's not apparently curving. You're just changing what you've... So what you're saying is you double speak your way around it by changing a not actual curve into the described actual curve of the ball's path. So you're saying you double speak your way around it because of your fundy belief at the time.
Yeah, you just take the actual and make it apparent, and then you justify it in mathematics.
I see. So you take the actual, which isn't Coriolis, make it straight when it's actually curving, so that you can describe the curve as a not actual deflection when in reality it's curvings. So you've got both instances covered at the same time. Double speak contradiction sounds cognitively painful to come to as well, and you're an intelligent man. So I would imagine that justification in your own mind was cognitively painful to come to. Am I correct?
Yeah, well, it made it easier when I believed that I knew it was a globe. You know, like it was easier to justify it, like, and say that maybe I don't fully understand it, but someone does. You know?
I love it. Maybe someone somewhere can explain this, but look, I don't know how it's not turning underneath.
Hey, John, I think you got the much needed antibodies to help these globers. So hang in there, brother. Your services might be needed.
You might be the chimera.
No, they hate me more than you guys.
Well, I just think they'll just tolerate their infection and just live with it.
Yeah, John is a Coriolis virus veteran.
He's a survivor.
Yes, he has the antibodies. We will extract the adamantium from him and inject it to Wolverine.
The only thing I ever had that was a proof of Earth rotation when I would have been a glober was the sunrise and sunset. It was the sun, that was it. There was no other thing that I would have considered a proof. Now, I didn't follow any science, what they would claim science was science. I didn't get involved in any of it. It was just like sunrise and sunset. That happens because of Earth rotation. So it was just a case of proving that the Earth was rotating, or that was caused by Earth rotation. And like a lot of people, I was under the impression that they had proved it.
So sunrise and sunset would be a claim that Earth's turning underneath at 15 degrees an hour? That would shorten flight times.
Yeah, I was wrong.
Yeah, and if it turns 15 degrees under the sun in their model, then it's turning that under everything else. It doesn't have a different degree. I mean, if it's turning, it's turning.
Yeah, either the Earth and every single thing on it is all turning at one time, and it only appears like the sun is moving, and it's actually everything else is moving, or it is actually just the sun. You know, it's actually that simple. But they give the impression, just like what happened with John Shelton there, they give the impression that somebody somewhere knows this kind of rubbish, or they give the impression it's already proven. It's like the whole coal super deep borehole being 8 miles down. We never heard about that, yet we were told and shown this center of this globe Earth. We're given the impression that all this stuff is proven. But they throw out the claim and they latch onto the claim and give the impression it's proven, and then try and prove this thing. It's like a reverse engineering of proof. And then when they can't, they just complicate it.
Did someone want to say something in Discord, or is it just someone on an open mic?
Well, I was going to say something about dilating time and contracting length to curve the ball, but I don't think I really need to go that far with it.
Well, can you show me time before you show me it dilating, please?
Well, what you'd have to do is place it on a Cartesian coordinates and put it 90 degrees orthogonal from distance.
And place what?
Sorry. The Cartesian coordinate system itself would also be a conceptual means of you trying to mathematically describe something. And that doesn't show us time. It definitely doesn't show us this time thing dilating. Let's just cut to the chase. Time's a concept, and you can't dilate, bend, travel through, or otherwise a concept.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to come to that realization, though, when you've been raised in it your whole life, though.
Yep.
Well, you can feel their pain then, because you came out of it, right? So, what if you were to give a diagnosis of tag force? What would it be?
He's just not thinking about it. He's just assuming that someone else understands it better than him, and he's just not explaining it the way it needs to be. Like he knows he's right in his mind, but he just can't fully explain it, is what he believes.
Or to put it another way, you can't get around us debunking it. So someone else somewhere would be able to debunk you. I can't be wrong. Coriolis is claimed to be real and Earth's claimed to be turning. The fact that I'm denying it turning underneath a pendulum 3 times and then you're pointing out that that's exactly what's claimed to happen just means I can't explain it well enough. Not that it's wrong. That's fundies. In this case, fundies with a disease.
He's a victim of proof reverse engineering, because he is now at the stage, him and that other guy, Mike Fox, and whoever else was at it, they're all, and including the main people like Schema and Dan and all this, they're all in this position now where they're trying to prove to us something that they were under the impression and are under the impression has already been proven. They don't realize that it's just been a claim, and a claim that came before any proof. So they're trying to reverse engineer the proof, and there isn't any there. So they're stuck trying to tell us you won't see it turning. There isn't a geometric horizon. You know, all this kind of nonsense. You know, that's what's wrong with them.
Yeah, I agree. That looking into something they've assumed is correct to begin with, we point out how it has a contradiction in terms attached to it in the case of Earth turning underneath pendulums, gyros, bullets, and footballs, as claimed by Neil deGrasse Tyson. You've got it turning underneath aeroplanes, and the blimp watching the game hasn't got Earth turning underneath it, but Neil deGrasse Tyson's claiming the ball has. Well, both would exhibit a not actual deflection from the stand, as Earth turned underneath the blimp. But it doesn't. And if it did, you'd have flights with massively reduced flight times. Well, obviously those things don't happen, so you've got a contradiction. So, like with the guy in chat, you defer to, well, someone's got an explanation for it. Because obviously you can't be right. I assume I'm correct. I'm told I'm correct. It's the standard global rhetoric. Therefore, you're wrong, I'm right, even though you've defeated my argument and I've contradicted the claim that Earth turns underneath a pendulum 3 times in a row. That doesn't matter either. The fact that I'm completely contradicting and debunking our own claim on our side of the globe, you tell me how a ball should drift. Why? I'm not claiming it. I don't need Coriolis. I don't need reference frames. You and your reference frames are ruined. That's your problem, not mine.
Sounds like a permanent state of cognitive dissonance when you argue both sides.
Well, the thing about it is that if you ask them to show you a physical demonstration of Earth-based Coriolis effect, what are they going to show you? What can they show themselves? I mean, what are they going to come up with? They're going to come up with some data that's based on calculations, that's based on beliefs, that an airplane has to account this much for this much Coriolis at this latitude. You know, that's kind of rubbish. And it's all based back to a lot of calculations. They can't show you. Sorry, Adam, go on.
They've only got field goals left, mate. That's it for a practical demonstration.
But that isn't...
As far as I can see.
Hold on. Brian. But what you've just described was actually the bait and switch they utilise. So, deflection from the ground as you turn underneath. That's Coriolis. That means to see Coriolis, you've got to be on the ground observing something as you turn. That's the underlying premise of the not actual drift experience. You've got to be turning underneath. Well, when they start describing how a plane would account for... No. That's not Coriolis. Coriolis is you turning underneath it. So them justifying what happens to the bullet was exactly what the guy in chat immediately opened with. Well, does the ball actually curve or not? Well, who cares? It's you turning underneath that gives you this effect, and you're saying that isn't what Earth does. So Earth isn't turning underneath is their line of attack. Okay, well, welcome to Flat Earth. If you're going to detail the projectile, you're no longer detailing you turning underneath. And if you're detailing the projectile because you're justifying us not turning underneath, then we're not turning underneath. Precisely what is required to have Coriolis. So they take it to the projectile. And Coriolis isn't describing any actual trajectory of any projectile. It's describing its not actual trajectory as you turn underneath it. So, yeah, talk all day about a plane can account for something not actually drifting as you observe it from the ground. It's nonsense, and isn't Coriolis.
No, exactly.
It's sloppy.
That's exactly it. They cannot show a rotating Earth. They cannot show that form. They cannot show a plane appearing to deviate. They cannot show a football appearing to deviate. All they can do is calculate data based on a belief. So if they have to show themselves any kind of a physical demonstration of what they're claiming is the Coriolis effect, what they're calling a Coriolis force, they're not even saying the word pseudo before the force, then all they can come up with is data that's based on a belief about what would happen at a latitude if a plane was going in this direction at this speed. You know, this is all they got. You know, they can't show it because it's not real. Now, it is real, it's a real effect, but the Earth is not involved in it.
Yeah, you can see Coriolis effect on a roundabout, like with my example of 3 people. 2 are throwing a ball over the top of a roundabout. 1 is watching the ball seem to curve as he turns underneath. Well, the ball, moving in a straight line over the top, is irrelevant of the effect being described. The effect comes from the guy turning underneath watching the ball do something it's not really doing, looking like it's curving away. It's not. It's just travelling back and forth in a straight line. But they want to talk about the straight line of the ball and describe it, why it would account for the deflection the guy sees, which is a nonsense bastardization of Coriolis, because you're not actually describing the effect anymore. You're describing the ball. Well, in my example, the ball being thrown back and forth in a straight line isn't anything to do with the effect that's observed. Coriolis is you turning underneath. The very thing they've got to deny, because Earth doesn't demonstrate that effect.
I was a bit flippant earlier, but that is the only one that they describe it correctly. They're binning and trying to convolute and disguise, like with today's show, with the gyroscopes, with pendulums, with airplanes. The only one, as far as I can see, where as the field rotated under the ball after it had been kicked, that's still a correct description. It's the only one that I can see, Brian, that they're still sticking to the correct description of Coriolis. Every other one, the actual old proofs, they've binned and they're convoluting now. But there's only the field goal where the Earth rotated underneath, the ball carried on its straight path, and the goalpost moved a little bit due to Earth's rotation. Tyson still states Coriolis correct for me now. I stand to be corrected, but that's still a correct description, as we saw the ball appear to bend because we were rotating underneath it after it had set off on its straight path. It's the only one they've got left I can see.
Right, and if Neil deGrasse Tyson's description of the Earth turning underneath the ball so that you from the stand see the ball curve through the goal, when in reality it's the goalposts moving under the ball that's travelling in a straight line, then if you were reporting the game from a camera on a blimp, then you'd be in the same reference frame as the ball, and from the stand, same effect would apply. To have Coriolis effect, as described in the ball, you'd look up at the blimp and go, oh, what do you know? That blimp looks like it's curving away from me at 15 degrees an hour, because Earth's turning underneath the blimp. But the blimp is completely unaffected. The blimp doesn't have Earth turning underneath it. If it did, you could go up in a blimp, hover, and wait for a different country to arrive as Earth turned underneath you. Now, the effect they're describing in the ball isn't being translatable in anything other than the ball, i.e. the ball that's just coincidentally curving anyway, is being described as deflecting because Earth turned underneath. And that means Earth turns underneath the blimp, and it doesn't. Because it would shorten the flight time, and it doesn't. Nothing else is drifting away from you.
The worst thing is, like Adam was saying, the only one that the only description they're given that's correct, it actually comes from Neil deGrasse Tyson, and they threw him under the bus. And I can't we can't find anybody who's willing to come in and state that the Earth did rotate underneath the ball.
Of course not. They're not even willing to agree that Foucault demonstrated it anymore.
Do you want me to try to argue it?
Yes.
It'll be bad.
Go ahead.
God.
It'll be bad. Okay. All right.
Was that it? That was quick.
No. Yeah, as
that was clever.
As the ball made contact. Hold on. As the ball made contact with the second reference frame, the deviation is expressed in a slight curve.
Okay, same question as last time. An actual curve of the ball or a perceived curve from the stands as you rotate underneath it?
Oh, it was just perceived.
So
its actual path was straight.
So the ball travelled in a straight line, but the goal moved underneath because Earth rotated underneath the blimp watching the game. Right?
Yeah, I see. It's horrible.
Yeah,
it's a dead end.
Did Earth rotate underneath the blimp watching the game at 15 degrees an hour? Because then it could just land in a different country an hour later, right?
Conservation of momentum.
But the ball didn't appear to drift. It conserved the momentum of the Earth and didn't exhibit any drift from the stands then. So Neil deGrasse Tyson's wrong. Earth didn't turn underneath, because in fact, according to you now, they're moving together. So not drifting apart at 15 degrees an hour.
It's impossible. It's impossible to argue this now and be intellectually honest about it. That's just impossible.
Yeah, to the point where their best debater, that would be the rumpus, will stutter and stammer over describing whether or not a pendulum moves back and forth or not. Because you can't be intellectually honest. You need to double speak your way around what a bloody pendulum does. Because it's claimed to have Earth turning underneath it. And Earth isn't turning underneath anything, so you better figure out a way of stuttering and stammering your way around that pretty quick, eh? Yeah, you can't be intellectually honest and claim Earth's turning underneath pendulums, because that would shorten flight times.
You know, it's
I'll argue it if you want. Go on, sorry.
Go on, Brian.
Yeah.
Go on,
Brian. I'll argue if you want.
10th was first. Go ahead.
All right. Well, they call it a force, and it's funny because it's not actual effect, because you're spinning underneath it. And then when you look it up, they say, well, it's a fictitious force. It's not an actual force either. So I think part of the trickery to trick the normie, or most people, is to apply the word force to it. Now, when we're the ones that should be moving underneath the object, and it appears to be deflecting because we're moving on the non-inertial reference frame, where's the force? Why did they put force in there?
It's a not actual force. So you see something happening that's not happening because it's an actual force occurring. I'll try and break this down. Do you want to go first, Brian? Then I'll break it down. Brian?
Oh no, I'm actually going to argue for their varying the Coriolis against you. That's what I was going to do. So, if you want to do that instead, do.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to do what John did.
No, feel free.
Oh yeah, well, you see, okay, yeah. You see, what you don't understand, Nathan, is, you see, the Earth did rotate underneath the ball, the field goal, but the reason that the blimp is not being affected in the same way is that is not a projectile, and they're also both in two separate latitudes. So, like, there's a lot of stuff going on here. Like, you just don't understand. That's about the size of it. I mean, I really don't know. I mean, I'm sick of explaining it to you.
So you're saying that the Earth is not rotating underneath the blimp, then?
No, see, the blimp is not a projectile, so it is carried along by the conservation of angular momentum. Whereas the ball is a projectile, you see, and they're both in two separate latitudes.
So Earth is turning underneath a ball at 15 degrees an hour, but it's not turning underneath a blimp at 15 degrees an hour. That's a contradiction in terms.
Not if you understand the conservation of angular momentum.
Well, when you're claiming that we should have... Oh, use that in Discord. Something. Please, can you put yourself on mute? So, either you can have Earth turning underneath stuff not attached, so that you can see it deflect, or you don't. Now, all you're trying to do is exactly what the Globers do, which is to have your cake and eat it. But if you're saying the reason one does and one doesn't is because you're going to arbitrarily assign the word projectile to one and not the other, doesn't alter the fact that they're both supposed to be exhibiting 15 degrees an hour drift in your rhetoric of a globe. And if one is and one isn't, then you've just got a contradiction, not a requirement for semantics.
You see, that is what I expected you would say, because you don't understand the conservation of angular momentum. If you understood the conservation of angular momentum and the difference between a projectile and powered flight, and why the latitude differences are important, then you'd understand that what we see is exactly what we should see on a rotating Earth.
Okay, so does the angular momentum change at latitudes, or is it always 15 degrees an hour?
It's always 15 degrees an hour.
Well, that's that off the list then, so I don't need to concern myself about the latitude of the ball versus the blimp. So the other is that you're arbitrarily assigning one as a projectile and one as not a projectile, when Coriolis effect isn't about the projectile and its motion. It's about you observing things seem to drift. So you're saying we don't observe the blimp seem to drift. Well, that's not your claim, it's supposed to. And you're saying we do see the ball seem to drift as Earth turns underneath. We can't have your cake and eat it. Either things drift because we turn underneath, or they don't drift because we're not turning underneath. As I say, the semantics of whether or not it's called a projectile is irrelevant, and the description of whether or not it's drifting at a different latitude is irrelevant. It's always 15 degrees an hour.
Yeah, but you see, what you're after doing here is exactly what I expected you would do, and you've hand waved away the conservation of angular momentum.
Okay.
And you've stated that it wasn't important.
No worries. I'll try and address it. So, but first I need to know what it is. Obviously, I don't understand, as you're correctly claiming. So, the conservation of angular momentum proves Earth's turning, does it?
The conservation of angular momentum is about when an object is experiencing angular momentum and it leaves that reference, then that angular momentum stays with that object. So everything moves at one. Because that's what's happening to the blimp. It is moving along with the momentum of the Earth and atmosphere.
That wasn't my question, though. Sure. Okay, thank you for explaining the conservation of angular momentum. Does that prove we spin?
Yeah.
No need, whoever that is in Discord.
Yeah, it does, because we can see that the field goal was due to the fact that that's a projectile, and it's the rotation of the Earth underneath it that allowed the field goal to go in for Brady in the Super Bowl. And at the same time, the blimp is held due to the conservation of angular momentum, because that's not a projectile.
Okay,
this might be, like, I mean, there's a lot of mathematics involved.
You just explained it again,
a little bit above your station.
Third time's a charm. Hold on, you just explained it again. So, does the conservation of angular momentum prove we spin?
Yes, because the field goal happened due to the Earth rotating underneath.
No, stop, Brian. No, that's Coriolis deflection. So that's the claim that Earth turned underneath the ball. And I'm saying, if you're saying we're not seeing that effect because the blimp is conserving momentum, I'm asking, the conservation of momentum that you're claiming is happening to the blimp, is that proving we spin then?
Yes, because underneath the blimp, you have the projectile, which is the field goal going in due to the Earth rotating, whereas the blimp is powered flight. And so that's conserving the momentum, the angular momentum of the rotating Earth.
This isn't Coriolis effect. Coriolis effect is you rotating underneath the blimp. So you're saying one is exhibiting the effect of Coriolis effect because Earth's turning underneath, and one is not exhibiting the effects of Earth rotating underneath, therefore it's not rotating underneath. We can't have it both ways. Either Earth is rotating underneath, or Earth is not rotating underneath. Which one is it?
Worries about that.
Well,
oh yes, you are quite right there, aren't you? No, I'm just currently in a debate about the flat Earth. Some people actually believe that the Earth is flat. How embarrassing. I'd hate to be them, you know what I mean? Anyway, I must dash, Nana. It's lovely speaking. All right. Bye. Love you.
Maybe that guy would like to take over the argument for me. Because I can guarantee he won't do better.
Pretty pathetic. Sounds like one of those fake.
It's always worrying when you can tell someone's a lie straight. I mean, pretending he's got a girlfriend. Seriously, mate.
He was talking to his nan. Who was that? Who was that just talking? In Discord, talking to their gran or something?
Oh, I thought I had my mic mute. I'm sorry about that. Sorry.
That's okay.
That's actually embarrassing.
No, it's all right. Maybe you can clear up a problem we're having. Does Earth rotate underneath things that aren't attached at 15 degrees an hour, or not?
Who, me?
Does Earth rotate underneath as a second reference frame to prove we spin, or not?
Well, the Earth does spin. I mean, it's pretty
That's not what I
obvious.
asked. Do you want me to repeat the question a third time?
Yes, okay.
Does Earth rotate underneath things that aren't attached so that we can see them deflect at 15 degrees an hour?
Well, personally, I'm a glober.
I don't care. Do you need it a fourth time, you stupid idiot? Did I ask you for your bloody life story, you stupid dick? Hello? I've asked you the question 4 times, not for a history.
I'm getting to my point.
Just answer the question. It's a yes or no question.
If you let me speak, then
it's a yes or no question.
Yes.
Earth does turn underneath things not attached. Why aren't flight times reduced when travelling west if Earth is turning underneath them?
Maybe they took a detour.
Sorry, why are planes not deflecting at 15 degrees an hour as we turn underneath them?
Nathan, you don't even know what deflecting means. Don't even start about trying to talk about deflection. You know, you need to have a basic understanding of what it means first.
What does it mean?
When you've learned that,
what does it mean?
Then you can start coming.
It's an ad hominem attack. I'll just point out the logical fallacy employed. My question was, why aren't planes deflecting at 15 degrees an hour? His response is, you don't understand what deflection means. That's called an ad hominem attack. So I'd like to have an answer to my question. Why are planes not deflecting at 15 degrees an hour when it's claimed by you Earth turns underneath them?
Okay. When the plane is in the atmosphere that the world is spinning in. Okay, I misheard your point. What I'm saying is the plane will spin with the Earth because of the magnetic, the magneticness from the moon. So the plane will spin with the Earth.
Okay, the plane will spin with the Earth because of the magneticness of the moon. Number one, while I laugh at you and my panel laugh at you, have you got a citation for that?
Hang on. Why would you laugh at me?
Have you got a citation for it? Have you got a citation for it? Have you got?
Can I state something?
Have you got a citation?
Can I state something?
You can answer if you've got a citation for your magnetic claim. Can you stop talking through me, please? Please, can you stop talking through me? Cutie pie.
Respectfully, yes, sorry.
So, have you got a citation for the abject nonsense you just stated, please?
Yes.
Go ahead. Can you post it in live stream so we can have a look at this magnetic claim that debunks Earth turning underneath a plane at 15 degrees an hour? So, just give clarity for my audience's benefit before you start talking through me, which you're now doing. So, before you rumpus the living crap out of me, you're about to give us an example by citation that debunks the claim for cult makes that Earth is turning underneath things not attached. So you're now going to go out of your way to cite something that debunks the claim we have Coriolis deflection. Go ahead. Let's see the citation that debunks Coriolis deflection.
In live stream.
Hello, darling. Yeah. Just to say, you won't believe it today. I've got this right Muppet on Flat Earth Debate. He says the reason things rotate with the atmosphere is because of the magneticness of the moon. Yeah. Okay, see you later. Love you, darling. Bye.
That's just a bit offensive.
Oh, shit, was I?
Adam, I should have told you that you weren't muted, Adam. Sorry, everybody got to hear that description of this idiot.
Okay. Why are you...
Why are you stuttering, you stupid dick? Why aren't you telling us about how you're debunking for cult's claim Earth turns underneath a pendulum? Instead of that, you're stuttering and stammering and making bad jokes and pretending to be on the phone.
Nathan.
You say my name, you stuttering, stammering, fundy bitch. Why are you now citing something that debunks for cult's claim Earth turns underneath?
Nathan, respectfully, can I get my word in?
Can I get an answer? Why are you trying to cite something that debunks the claim Earth turns underneath stuff not attached at 15 degrees an hour? You're debunking for cult's claim.
I will get to my point if I can speak. I'm not having that chance.
Oh, my bad! It's not like you just had an opportunity to explain why you're debunking for cult. Maybe bleat about how you're not getting an opportunity, rather than explaining yourself when you debunk for cult and his claim Earth turns underneath stuff, not attached, at 15 degrees an hour, with your moon magnetism, whatever your crappy stuttering nonsense about moon magnetism is. Yeah? You're debunking for cult, idiot!
So what I'm going to talk about now is the fact that I do have a stutter, and I find it quite offensive the fact that you're taking the mick out of my stutter.
I couldn't give a shit! You're also debunking for cult! Yeah, you stuttering, stammering dick! You are debunking the claim that we have 15 degrees an hour drift. Do you think I give a crap about your speech impediment? I don't!
The rules of this call state that...
I get to teabag retards who jokingly pretend to be on a phone call, claim they've got a stammer as a defence for not having Earth turn and citing things that debunk for cult, and claims that we have Earth turning underneath at 15 degrees an hour. Yeah, you stuttering, stammering spastic. I'll call you what I like. I make the rules. You are a thicko with a globe belief being teabagged by a flat earther because you can't justify your cited source debunking for cult. You complete mong. Don't you get it? You're not in charge. Respectfully, you're getting teabagged.
You're for everyone but Nathan.
On this. Am I allowed to speak? No?
You're allowed to suck my nuts. That's what you're allowed to do, little boy. You're allowed to suck on my nuts and enjoy the aftertaste while you continually obfuscate and ignore the question about your cited source that is claimed to debunk the fact that you on the globe side think we have Earth turning underneath, stuff not attached. Well, feel free, Johnny, I've got a stutter, to show us this cited source that debunks for cult.
I think there's no need for that. Offensive, isn't it? Whether I have a stutter or not. I mean, hey, Nathan, obviously you've got anger issues, but I'm not taking the mick out.
It's another ad hominem attack. You're not giving us a cited source that's debunking for cult. You're now attacking me personally. Right? I've got anger issues. Nah, I can really smile while I do it too. It's equally effective to grin while I call you a fundy idiot and say that you're attempting to provide us with a source that debunks for cult. That's about the 6th time I've said it. Obviously you're a coward, right?
I mean, it's very clear that, you know, I mean, why are you taking the mick off my stutter? I mean, it clearly says that rule 4.
Yeah, that's the 5th time you've appealed to your mental handicap. Yeah, I don't care. Yeah, I'm pointing out that you're going for a source that debunks the claim we turn underneath at 15 degrees now. That's my 8th attempt. Maybe talk about some perceived attack on you for stuttering and stammering rather than giving an answer, which is what you're doing. Maybe justify it with mental handicaps, which you probably haven't got because you're a liar, claiming to be on phone calls you're not on. Maybe appeal to anything but the answer to the question in regards to your cited source that debunks Earth turning underneath at 15 degrees an hour.
Nathan, you're taking this personally, all right?
Oh yeah, obviously I'm taking this really personally while I ask you to justify Earth turning underneath stuff at 15 degrees an hour, something you're simultaneously denying. That's really personal to me. Yeah, this is obviously personal to me while you're attacking me personally and projecting that onto me.
How am I attacking you personally? This is a debate.
Oh, I don't understand this. That's a personal attack. I'm very angry about this. That's a personal attack. Yeah, I think you're pretty much projecting everything that you're doing directly onto me. It's a fairly typical attack method by fundies when they're asked questions like, why would you want to go and get a source that debunks the claim we turn underneath at 15 degrees an hour? You're debunking the claim that's supposed to prove Earth turns. Maybe you should avoid that 9 times and talk about a different subject.
I think you just need to take a...
You think you need to? That would be a personal attack then. So not an address to this claim that we have Earth turning underneath at 15 degrees an hour. Something you're now scrambling around to cite a debunking source that demonstrates that doesn't happen. Welcome to Flat Earth, by the way. But you're going to start talking about me and what I do. What, while telling me that I'm, getting angry? Personal attack number 5.
Oh, you are.
Oh, you. Yeah, and you aren't addressing my 10th rendition of the fact that you're trying to cite a source that debunks for cult in his claim that Earth turns underneath to prove we spin.
Well, personally,
he hasn't got a clue.
I mean, I do, but just Nathan is just being a little bit.
So another personal attack on me? Not an answer to the 10th rendition of this cited source that you've put in live stream that apparently is debunking the claim we turn underneath at 15 degrees now. Maybe talk about me for the 7th time. You bloody coward.
It's getting boring now, Nathan.
What, you not answering my question and just constantly attacking me personally? Yeah, very boring, you fundy twat.
I just don't have time for you.
You don't have time? Well, why are you here? Attacking me personally rather than answering the question that you're here to debunk? You're here to debunk for cult, right? Go and get your source that shows we don't turn underneath at 15 degrees now. Or maybe attack me personally for the 8th time.
When you've attacked me multiple times about my stutter thing.
Yeah, stutter rather than answer. What you did was stutter and stammer. What you didn't do was answer the direct question put to you about your scrambling to get a cited source to debunk the claim we turn underneath at 15 degrees an hour. That's when I pointed out that rather than a response, what I actually got and was recorded was you stuttering and stammering. That's a statement of fact. Run out of ad homs. So,
Yeah,
to conclude,
thought he had when he came in.
to conclude, Earth isn't turning underneath at 15 degrees an hour, and that little nonsense back and forth was because the guy was going to get us a source to prove just how much it isn't rotating. Right? That's not what's happening. I can prove it. Moon's magnetism is dragging the plane along with the Earth. Yeah, totally absurd. And now he's interrupting me during my conclusion because he's an abject coward. He's had 11 renditions to try and respond. All he did was attack me personally, and now all he can do is interrupt the conclusion. So let's stick him on mute because he's a coward wanker. And when I'm concluding the point that he had a chance to offer a response to 11 times, but now the conclusion's going to get fundy muted by him. Total coward. What a bastard. Yeah, loser. I'm now going to summarise the point you couldn't answer and only attack me personally on. A logical fallacy. You don't have Earth turning underneath, and you're more than happy to scramble to get a cited source to prove we don't turn underneath. And that's the very claim that's supposed to prove we spin. You, on the globe side, are supposed to have Earth turning underneath. But that would shorten flight times. And when I point that out, you go and scramble for a source to prove how we're not turning underneath? And debunk the claim that Foucault's making? Yeah, that'll need a lot of obfuscation and doublespeak, won't it now, Fundy? That'll need you to interrupt rather than answer 11 renditions of the same question about why you'd want to debunk Foucault's claim we're turning underneath. Yeah, you better mute my conclusion by talking through me, right, coward? Yeah? Maybe tell us how you haven't got enough time? Or me pointing out that a stuttering response isn't an answer to that question about why Earth isn't turning underneath aeroplanes, or why you'd want to need to get a source that debunks the claim we are? Yeah? I assume you were the guy that came the other day with all your cackling fundy mates? Yeah, enjoy the aftertaste for the second time, my friend. You're never going to get a win here. You don't know your own argument well enough to understand the doublespeak that we pick apart daily. That's why you lost here and couldn't answer me 11 times.
I think I was doing better at defending his globe than he was.
I agree, you were doing miles better.
He's a rookie.
4 more hours.
You say that from the shower?
He's shopping bags.
We're tired of these rookies. Send in a pro.
What's the
Can
pro
I say
going to
something
do?
about that?
Go on, John.
I think it's pretty sickening that somebody who obviously come in to troll and try to insult people is then going to try to claim victim status as somehow being mentally held back or something like that, when he's come here with the express purpose of trying to make fun of people.
I think Adam was right the first time. He's come back because in defeat he's been left in cognitive pain and wants to gain the win, like you described to us, that you would self-soothe with a mental exercise that left you being able to justify non-inertial and inertial reference frames not exhibiting themselves. Well, he just wants to get an ad hom win Because he's a pathetic twat, like most of them. If they feel they can get a jab in personally, they take that as a win for a spinning Earth. It's absolutely pathetic.
I stepped away for a minute, so I came back, caught the end. So did he even prove he was talking to a real girlfriend yet, or what?
No, we are certain that wasn't true.
When he spoke about the sorry.
Go on, Brian.
Oh, no, I was going to say, when he spoke about deflection, the only deflection that I ever see the Globers proving is them deflecting from one part of an argument to a contradictory other argument. That's all I did there. I just keep on deflecting. I keep on going back to the argument that I'm deflecting away from the one you're beating and going to the one that contradicts it. Then you go to that one and I go to a third one and a fourth one if I have it. But I keep on going back around in a circle. That's all I'll do, and that's how you are. That's it. All I have to do as a baller is keep doing that.
Yes, and you've learned from them doing it, right, Brian? You've watched them do it over and over again. Unfortunately, in this instance, while you and I were doing it, I can still concisely demolish every time you change the subject or move the point, because there's a specific claim that they're supposed to have, Earth turning underneath to give them drift. So every time you deflect away and say, well, it's supposed to turn under the blimp, no blimp has got any deflection then. Oh, well, because it's not a projectile. Well, you know, if you're going to catch any of the audience on a good day that's a glober going, yeah, I'll swallow that semantical argument, well, then you're a good man. You know, if someone's prepared to be dumb enough to accept that semantical argument, one is a projectile, one isn't, well, they're both in the air, and you're supposed to be turning underneath stuff that's not attached. Well, maybe it's being dragged along by the moon's magneticness.
Exactly. You just have to keep on going back to. If I'm debating as a baller, I just have to keep on going back to one of the 2 or 3 arguments that you debunked only, let's just say, a moment ago. And when you debunk that, I go back to the one that I never address the point. I keep on going back to some other contradictory argument, and that's how I keep doing it. So I'm never going to actually prove anything. If I win against anybody in a debate with that kind of tactic, it's only a tactic that won, and I didn't actually prove anything.
Right.
Nathan?
Yes.
Before you round out the show, because I don't know if you were, but I think I found a solution based on research to the Coriolis virus.
How much do you want?
A measure. We all need to do intellectual distancing.
I think that's genius. Arwin, you are brilliant. So yeah, I think that's the way these people can survive the Coriolis virus. You need to exercise intellectual distancing. Keep away from the infectious people like Simon, Dan and Craig. They're only going to infect you with the virus, and the next thing you know, you're going to be coming to Flat Earth Debate telling us all about how we wouldn't expect to see Earth turning underneath to give us 15 degrees an hour drift. You know, that's going to be the embarrassing end of being around these people infected with the Coriolis virus. So absolutely, Arwin, intellectual distancing.
Yeah, and if that's not going to work, then we're going to have to go to lockdown procedures, but that's not going to be very popular.
Well, it's going to be, a different kind of lockdown. Obviously, we'll lock them out of their internet provider temporarily so that they can't come in contact with this virus.
600 seconds of lockdown.
Yeah, you've been timed out. You've spent far too much time in the company of the infected man named Simon Dan, and we're worried that you're going to contract the Coriolis virus and go around telling people how we don't have drift and reference frames are ruined and stuff, and we just can't risk it. So, yeah, you no longer got internet connection. It's been taken away from you temporarily. You're on lockdown.
Self-isolation.
Say again, Brian.
Self-isolation, intellectual isolation.
I mean, these things have proven effective before, and it's only reasonable that we utilise them to stop the spread of the Coriolis virus. It seems like the best thing to do, I think.
Right, people have already been conditioned for it, so they will, automatically, instinctively know what to do because, all these procedures are very familiar. Everybody's been well educated about them, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've already seen quotes in the comments about an epidemiologist that's been quoted as saying that the Coriolis virus could have infected the entire planet based on their current projections.
Does that mean that the Earth will actually start spinning?
I couldn't
or
ask her any
just the
further.
people on it?
I couldn't ask her any further questions because I made her up, but she wanted to remain anonymous.
Okay.
I have a cure.
How much do you want?
They could take plastic bags and put over their heads.
That's a bit extreme. That's a bit extreme, isn't it?
Yeah, you can also just settle for plastic water bottles.
So I was going to say, those types of things are very hard to come by these days, and you'd have a job suffocating someone with a bag for life.
Yeah. Hessian's no good, is it, to suffocate people?
Yeah, and the trendy hemp ones, they're no good either.
Well, maybe they could transit by going around inside of a plastic ball. You know? Might give some comfort relief too. Being in a ball and all.
I was going to say, that's back to the description at the beginning of the show about Ready Player One. That's what they want, right? We could all live in a little internet bubble.
I think we're all missing it. The cure is right here. Stay tuned. Nathan Oakley, 1980. That's how you get cured.
And with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. Also, subscribe to all 3 channels linked in the comments section. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.